The bloodline of the sun god is a powerful one. In the beginning of the universe, the sun god gave pieces of their power to those who shared the god's lineage, should they find remnants of a fallen star. The Grandel Empire's emperor, Elias, has received the most power from the god of the sun throughout all of history. His 3 children have also found star pieces as well, and they have also inherited part of the power. Because of the power of the royal family, the Grandel Empire is in a state of prosperity. They are even using an empty castle as a storage room. As servants carry things to the storage castle, a young girl watches them from the bushes. She accidentally startles them as she moves through the bushes and they run away, leaving her to explore. The girl isn't alone. She has a small dragon, a little black reptile named Zion. The 2 look for food, and as they search, Zion and the young girl uncover a shining talisman on a string. She touches it, overcome with a magic aura. What is it? 2 boys are searching in the forest. They are with their sister and are looking for an item that the youngest boy has misplaced. The trio is close to the young girl in the forest, and soon they stumble upon her. One of the children, Derek, grabs the young girl and he questions who she is. A bolt of lightning strikes them, separating them. Derek's brother and sister, Jaren and Leona, rush over, shocked to see another child in the forest. Leona tries to check on the other girl, examining her wounds on her face, but the young girl pushes her away. A flurry of crows and feathers erupt in the forest, and Leona runs scared to her brothers while the mysterious girl disappears. Derek tells Leona to take care of her necklace, since it is a star shard. All the while, the other young girl runs into the forest sobbing. She hates blonde hair, despite having it herself, since her last memory of her mother featured a golden-haired man. As she cries, she runs into a knight. The young girl is startled and quickly runs away from him, but he sees blood left in her wake. The knight runs after her, coming to the old storage castle. He spots her hiding behind a fallen tree, and he offers to patch up her wounds and to give her food. When she doesn't move, he slides the food to her, waiting for her to get it on her own time. He asks how old she is as she eats, and she responds that it has been 7 fingers since her mother's death. So really, she has no clue. The girl doesn't have a name, as her mother didn't give her one before she died, and the knight asks to come visit her tomorrow as well. He promises to bring her bread and leaves, telling himself to report to his king about the girl. She has jeweled eyes, and the king needs to know about it. At the king's castle, the leader of the Spear Sword Knights, Cajun, is arguing with Derek, Jaren, and Leona. They want the knights to come with them to see the child, and William, the knight from the forest, confirms that they have all seen the same girl. Suddenly, William is stopped by a man with golden hair and a shining halo above his head. The man is the king. He asks about the commotion, and Derek tells him about the young girl in the woods. Elias doesn't believe his son, but William backs up the boy's claims. When William tells the king about the girl's jeweled eyes, the king supposes that the girl is worth investigating. The next day, Elias, William, and Cajun travel to the forest, spotting the girl in a large tree. The girl stares at them angrily, especially Elias. His hair matches the memory from her mother. Elias asks the girl to come down from her tree, but she hesitates, causing her to lose her footing and slip. But with a wave of his hand, the king uses a magic force to slow the girl's fall, causing her to gently float into his arms. He asks her if she is all right, but she panics, struggling against him and scratching his face with her long nails. Uh-oh, she's hurt a king. The girl apologizes meekly and asks to be put down, which Elias agrees to. She runs behind her tree, and she asks Elias why he threw her away. She tells him that she doesn't need a papa, stunning the 2 knights. Elias tells her that he remembers her, and she is surprised, but she tells him to go away. He promises to come back the next day, and he even says that he will bring her more food. Elias leaves his cloak, blessed with magic and divine power, for her to wrap herself up in during the night. He leaves the interior of the castle, meeting his butler, Heron, outside. He orders Heron to get clothes, food, and a blanket for the girl, and stresses to not pressure her into taking the items. Elias tells Cajun to prepare the records room as he wants to learn more about the young girl. Elias returns to his castle and he travels to the records room. There he meets the royal recorder, Oslo, and he asks him if everything in that record room is the truth. Yes, Elias, it is. In the royal record room, there is a record of the royal family of Grandel as well as their descendants. Only the recorder and the king's family have access to it. Oslo reads the record. The king left one day, bringing back a woman named Brechetti from the Aheri clan. He gifted her the quiet castle in the northeast, away from the sounds, which she was sensitive to. The woman had a child by Elias, and Elias suspects that the young girl is his daughter by Brechetti. Oslo recounts that the Aheri clan only exists in old historical records and in memories of others. They are descended from a god who maintained his power the same way. However, members of the Aheri clan lost their lives when forgotten, and memories of them vanished after their deaths. It is also said that those of the Aheri clan who bear children outside of the clan will die as well, meaning that Elias's lover knew that she would die. Elias resolved to find the midwife who helped deliver the girl, as she is bound to have memory of the event and the child. Elias asks Oslo if there is any way to recover the memories of the mother of his child. But a small child with red hair bursts through the doors, screaming about finishing his studies, and interrupts the king. The child's name is Rufus, Oslo's apprentice and successor, and he's overheard that there's a child in the northeast castle. Rufus leaves, plotting mischievously, and Oslo resumes the conversation. Elias informs Oslo that the little girl has amber eyes, leaving Oslo to predict that she contains pieces of the sun. As Elias and Oslo try to figure out how to get more information on the girl's lineage, the girl herself is enjoying a full stomach provided by the food that Heron brought her. She's also bundled tightly under the king's cloak, and she notices that the trees around her are becoming bare. White day, or as we call it, a snow day, is approaching fast, and with it brings spirits. But what kind? The small girl sleeps peacefully, but not for long. She wakes up to find Rufus looming over her, and he startles her for a laugh. He offers her a hand to help her stand, but she doesn't understand him. It doesn't really matter, as he is happy to get into trouble and talk to the girl. Rufus wants to become her friend, and he asks her if she knows what friend means. She doesn't, and asks what a friend is, and Rufus takes her curiosity as a yes. He is ready to take her on their first adventure as friends, and he takes her exploring through the woods to his house. As they travel, the girl remembers that recently, Elias promised to give her a name in the evening. She follows after Rufus anyway, but she must have been gone with him for a while. Word gets back to the main castle that the girl is no longer in the woods, nor in the northeast castle, and Elias dispatches his knights to look for her. He goes himself to look as well, traveling through the forest on foot while his children fly in the sky, looking for her overhead. Eventually, long after the sun has gone down, Jaren and Derek spot the girl walking back to her abandoned castle alone. She is tired and cold after running around with Rufus, and Jaren moves slowly, landing in front of her and telling her that he is there to help. Elias runs on foot, seeing both of his children, and the girl stumbles forward, asking for her name before she collapses from exhaustion. While she's asleep, the girl dreams of her mother, reliving the last memory she has of her. Her mother tells her that she has found someone that she truly has loved, and while he didn't love her back, he was kind. She assures her baby that the man will find her and love her, but before she can say any more, the girl wakes up to find Elias checking on her. She is in a cozy bed in his own palace. He's waited for her to wake up so that she can finally receive her name, and the little girl is more than excited. She's still weak though, and can't really take much excitement physically, much to her father's annoyance. Elias turns to a priest behind him, asking if she is really healed. Elias turns from berating the priest back to his daughter, giving her the name Estrella Sol Grandel. Estrella is the name of the sun and the goddess that oversees the stars. And fun fact, Sol means sun in Latin. Estrella loves her name, and Elias asks his daughter if she's hungry. She's been asleep for 2 days after all. Elias offers to get her many different foods and even offers to feed Zion, her dragon friend. Estrella agrees to eat, on the condition that her father eat with her, and soon she has empty plates and a full tummy. After their meal, Elias asks to talk with his daughter. He asks her to move into his home, it'll be winter soon, and at his palace, warmth and food are guaranteed for her. Elias explains that he is sorry for forgetting her and not coming for her earlier, promising to see her every day so that he doesn't forget again. Estrella thinks about it, but her thoughts are interrupted by Derek. He comes in, telling her to call him Del, and soon, Jaren and Leona file in too, wanting to see Estrella. They all bicker, but can Estrella take all this new attention? Elias coaxes Estrella out from under a cloth, having chased out his children. He introduces two maids to her, saying that they will help her from now on. As Estrella peeks out, she sees a dark haze hovering around Heron. No one knows what Estrella is talking about, and as she tells Heron to be careful of leaves, Elias is dead set on knowing what she means. Later, Heron reports back to Elias. Heron found a poisonous herb, but it isn't entirely poisonous on its own. It was dried in a bundle, and Heron couldn't find out who used it or where it came from. Elias issues a gag order, meaning that no one can talk about the incident until they figure out what is going on. He also increases security around the palace, wanting to protect his children. Suddenly, one of the maids bursts through the door, screaming about Estrella. They all rush to the girl's room to find the other maid huddled on the floor. It seems that the girl doesn't like her bath, and she has attacked the maids and run off. Estrella is now camping out under her bed, and she isn't coming out anytime soon. Elias sends the maids to the infirmary to get checked out, leaving him alone with his daughter. He tries to coax her out, apologizing to her. He thought that she would know what a bath was, and Estrella complains that what she experienced was not a bath. She says that a bath is when something sparkly covers her body and water droplets fly in the sky. Elias doesn't know what she means, and asks who did this for her, and she only responds with a friend. Slowly, Estrella comes out from underneath the bed, and Elias gets her dried off and dressed. It seems like Estrella is having a hard time acclimating to her new life. And while she does, far off in the forest, ice shatters. An entity covered in ice awakens, walking through the forest and examining the freshly frozen landscape. They remark that they are earlier than usual and that they hope she isn't crying. But who is she? Is the entity talking about Estrella? Elias has finally gotten his little girl dressed, but he is still having a hard time convincing her to stay at the palace. He remarks that since it will be winter soon, it will be harder for her to be on her own, but if anything, winter seems to make Estrella want to leave. He asks her if she would like to move before the winter begins, and he even offers to finish repairing her castle before the winter so that she can live comfortably. She asks Zion, and he responds in his dragon language, telling her to accept his offer. Elias is surprised that she can speak to the reptile, and he asks what the dragon said. Zion has told the girl to accept the king's offer since his food is tasty, and Elias is glad. Estrella insists once again on going back to her home once winter fully begins, and Elias agrees. The next morning, Estrella is woken up by her cat, Yellowy, and Zion as she is startled by her maids, Siren and Bella. They have brought her milk and cookies, and Estrella eats them wildly, and she even laps milk out of her cup like a dog. Looks like there's some etiquette work to be done, huh? The maids try to instruct Estrella on how to drink from the cup, saying that she won't be able to finish if she laps at it. Estrella is always looking out for her friends, though, and she insists that whatever is left over will go to Yellowy and Zion. When Bella and Siren assure the girl that her pets will be fed, they tell her that the food is a present, making Estrella excited. She's never gotten a present before, so she eagerly lifts the cup too high to her face, dumping the milk all over her. Poor baby. However, Bella and Siren are on the case, and Siren quickly leaves to get the girl more milk, leaving Bella alone with Estrella. Estrella asks if Bella is uncomfortable, saying that the pink around her keeps wavering and darkening. But before Bella can ask what she means, Siren comes back with another cup of warm milk. Later, Heron comes, giving Estrella warm clothes to go outside in. She doesn't want to wear the clothes, feeling restricted in them, but he convinces her to at least put on her boots. He also promises to pack her cookies, causing Estrella to remark that he is feeling yellow. It looks like Estrella can differentiate good and bad moods by their color, and Heron asks what color Elias has. Estrella tells him that the king's color usually changes, but it stays at gold. She then asks to go outside, and once there, she is watched by Jaren and Leona. They are very curious about their youngest sibling, but they have been instructed by their father to stay away from her without permission to keep from scaring her. Leona notices that Estrella is wearing hand-me-down clothing from them, and they both figure that the girl must not have had any clothes of her own. They continue to watch Estrella, and Leona inches closer. All the while, Jaren keeps reminding her of their father's rule. They watch as Estrella travels down an old dark staircase, and they grow concerned. Suddenly, Jaren and Leona hear a loud noise, followed by a rustling behind them. Looks like they need to watch out for themselves. Leona screams in shock, grabbing onto Jaren. However, the rustling has come from Zion, who is hunting in the bushes. He's changed a little bit. Now his little reptilian toes and tail are a deep blue color. Leona asks Zion if he knows where Estrella is, and he happily chirps a yes. They follow after Zion down the dark steps. Meanwhile, Estrella is at the bottom of the staircase exploring. She finds a set of footprints, and she turns to find Zion, who jumps happily into her arms while her siblings look on from a distance. Estrella questions Zion's new shade of blue, asking him if it is related to his growth in hunting. Jaren and Leona are stunned to see Estrella carrying on a conversation with the dragon, and they watch as she waits for someone to come visit her. Soon, Zion informs Estrella that she isn't all alone underground. While the children explore, Elias is settling his own matters in the palace. He has Cajun looking for any wizard's marks in the Northeast Castle, and Heron updates the progress of the castle's repairs. The outside is almost finished. However, there's one more matter to address. How will the queen react to being a stepmom? Zion tells Estrella that Heron and her father have been snooping around, and he also alerts her to her siblings who are watching her from the shadows. Leona asks to come closer to Estrella, promising to give her cookies in return. Estrella loves cookies. I mean, who doesn't? And she lets Leona come up to 5 steps from her. Leona thinks that Estrella looks like her father, and while the young girl explains what chocolate fondue is to her sister, Jaren stays behind in the shadows. Meanwhile, Elias is breaking the news of his new child to members of his court. Once there's concrete proof, Elias plans on debuting Estrella as an official imperial princess, much to the surprise of those present. One man, Marquess Kelpie, asks for the evidence that the child belongs to Elias. Elias tells him that since Kelpie is a sensible man, he will see the resemblance and know immediately once he sees the girl. Marquess Kelpie asks for a meeting, but Elias refuses him as Estrella still gets scared easily. That's right, protect your princess, Papa Elias. The rest of those aristocrats are just going to have to deal with it. Marquess Kelpie argues that since no one else but the royal family and servants can see Estrella, it'll be hard for the rest of them to accept her. Elias dismisses this, knowing that the child is his and believing that in time, the rest of the men will see it as well. He changes the subject to an unknown disease that is growing in the south. A young man, Viscount Kelphil Walron, speaks up. He is taking his father's place due to his father trying to address the epidemic in the south. Animal attacks in the regions have led to high fevers and beast-like behavior from those who have been attacked, with some going as far as biting other humans, animals, and steel. More casualties and symptoms have begun to show in victims, creating a dire situation. While those affected have been quarantined from the rest of the public, infected animals are still coming from the wilderness, infecting more people than can be contained. The region is also lacking food, so really, things aren't looking good for the southern region right now. Elias sends Wild Run to rest, vowing to have a more concrete decision about the matter in a week. Meanwhile, Elias orders Cajun to prepare supplies and the military before stopping by Estrella's room. She remarks that he is like a firework, looking at the colors crackling and burning around his aura, and she asks him who he met. Heron comes just in time for Elias to order him to get Cajun and Marquess Kelpie. Elias asks his daughter to check the men the same way that she checks him for colors. When Cajun and Kelpie enter Estrella's room, she confirms that they have colors around them as well. She notes that Kelpie looks as though he is burning, and Elias thanks Estrella for telling him. When Elias asks Estrella what happens to the burning people, she responds that they will turn up like her mother. Yikes. She says that her friend, a spirit, told her that the fireworks and fogs she sees are caused by monsters, but she doesn't seem too forthcoming with this information. Cajun asks if the monsters can be defeated, and the answer is yes. She says they need to seek out a root. According to Estrella's friend, when corrupted demons die, Their essence harms the human world and human life. Finding the root of the malice isn't easy, but it is crucial to fixing the problem. When demons die, they become a rock, and to find the rock is to find the root. Elias is lost, but when his daughter says that the monsters are actually demons, he rises to his feet, leaving the room with his men. Estrella is sad to see her father go, not knowing that he plans on finding the demon, and Elias offers to get Leona to eat with her instead of himself. Cajun and Kelpie cannot believe their ears, but they know that Estrella has jewel eyes, meaning that she is imbued with a special power. Since only those in the imperial family can have jeweled eyes, they know for a fact that Estrella is related to Elias, and they know that her power is to be legit. Cajun even knows about the rock Estrella talked about. When demons die, they leave behind corrupted magic stones. When a demon dies, their magic stone turns pitch black, becomes contaminated, and emits a strong malice. Everyone who touches it would melt. So His Majesty orders Heron to summon the High Priest. An illness that would make both humans and animals fall into madness would have been easier if it isn't contagious by air. Then, His Majesty orders Carrigan to have people follow whoever attended the meeting to watch over their behavior. He knows that it is too early to let Marquess Kelpie meet Estrella, so he tells him to keep it a secret since the future of jewel-eyed wielders isn't usually good. His Majesty still needs to gather evidence in order to better understand Estrella's special ability because her power is too complicated for a child to handle. She has seen too much of the dark side of humans, and it would be a problem if she becomes disappointed with the world because she might turn her back against them. I mean, with how she's been treated and all the evil she's seen in humans, who can really blame her? Meanwhile, in Leona's room, her two brothers are jealous of her tactics to get closer to Estrella. Derek is frustrated because he hurt her the first time they met in the forest. He knows that if he approaches her, then she would just be scared. As Leona knocks on Estrella's door, there is no response, but a deafening silence. Estrella opens the door and lets Leona inside. She is too honest to tell her older sister that it took her a bit longer to arrive and that she is so hungry already, for which she apologizes. While eating, Leona can't help but admire how cute Estrella is and thinks it is better to give her a nickname. However, Estrella likes to be called by her given name only. Leona starts to admire her even more, so she requests to be called Sister instead of her given name. For Estrella, it isn't much of a big deal to call her that, but to Leona, it's the most wonderful thing ever. This caused her to emit a bright aura, which made Estrella smile. Oh, that's so cute! She really loves her little sister. Meanwhile, two of the servants are talking about how the Emperor picked her up and started caring for her. However, all they really know is unproven gossip that circulated within the palace. The servants want to get closer to her, so they decide to bake her some cookies when the kitchen is empty at night. Estrella, on the other hand, put Zion down because he's heavy. Longy, the snake, comes out from her clothes, and Yellowy starts to tease Zion when suddenly, a man with a malicious aura approaches her. She remembers what the spirit told her about humans consumed by malice, and she knows that person is already a monster. Honestly, can this girl catch a break? She was just brought into a nice home and now she has to deal with whatever this is? The man wonders why Estrella is giving him an expression of fear. He thinks that she may have a good instinct, but suddenly, he shows his true personality when he realizes that Estrella is indeed a Jabbar. His malicious aura starts to grow bigger, and Longy tries to bite his arm, but he just sends him flying into the floor, lying unconscious. Oh no, you did not just mess with our snake. The man has some bad blood with Jabbars, so he is about to end her life, but he gets a feeling that it might not be the best plan. The princes and princesses all have remnants of stars, so if he could make use of them, then they'll notice him immediately. He thinks that maybe she has friends that he could use instead, but Estrella has no friends. The man laughs because noble children are usually filled with vanity and are busy bragging, but she is different. He then gets curious about what he looks like in her eyes, but before that, he promises to heal Longy as long as she tells him the truth. Estrella agrees to his condition, so she tells him that he has giant flames, pure black flames eating up the red ones that surround him. The man wields fire, and he has the ability to stop time. But Estrella is more concerned with Blackie eating the fire, and she feels sorry for it. The man, or rather, Kelphil Wyleron, pats her head for her wits and tries to influence her to make some trouble. Sir, don't try to corrupt our sweet Estrella. Uriel apologizes for being late at the head priest's meeting. Ever since God let down the remnants of stars the second time, there's been no word of prophecy. The prophecy says, the seed of calamity has been planted. The miasma will drive the humans insane. To solve this, you'll need the eyes that can see life's spirit and truth. Find the child with the jewels that possess the power of stars. The seed of calamity refers to a corrupted magic stone or a demon's heart, and the child with the jewels must be someone like Estrella. The other priests start to question how the current imperial family has no jeweled eyes despite being blessed by the stars. That they know of. The head priest and Uriel have both agreed to reveal the information about the arrival of a new imperial princess. They speculate that she is born with God's power, but since it hasn't been fully proven yet, the high priest instructs them to keep it a secret. Uriel can't help but pity the child being born with jeweled eyes. The ones who are familiar with history know very well the end of those that possess jeweled eyes. Could this be called a reign of peace? Later, in His Majesty's room, the head priest is persistent to transfer Estrella to the temple for her safety, but His Majesty is firm in keeping her in the palace with him. He dismisses the high priest's idea and orders him to dispatch a minimum of 5 high priests in the Wild Run territory. But again, the head priest suggests that Estrella must also come to the area. His Majesty Holds is so enraged that everything around him begins to float. He even starts to clench his fist out of anger. Yes, sir. Although you forgot about your daughter, which is very messed up, you fight for her right now. The history of jeweled-eyed wielders is a very gloomy one. The person who wielded ruby-jeweled eyes could make strong weapons with their blood. Because of this, foreign countries began to start a war just to have that power. In the end, he used his own blood to end his life. The aquamarine jeweled wielder had strong healing powers that could even revive the dead. He suffered severely from the kidnapping and greed of people who wanted his power. So after one of his eyes is taken, he digs out his other eye and ends his life. Then, the diamond jeweled eye wielder, second prince of the empire, was lucky to manifest the jewel eyes at the age of 10. However, the emperor knew what would happen to those who possessed it, so he locked up the prince and put some chains around his wrists and ankles. He lost all authority and wasn't even able to eat by himself. The high priest knows that the most important thing at this moment is to resolve the issue in the Wild Run territory, but His Majesty can't allow his child to go there. The high priest tells him that as the emperor, he sometimes needs to sacrifice his own child when necessary. I'm sorry, but does this make sense to you guys? Like, how can a man protect an empire if he can't even protect his own children? And why should a child be sacrificed because of this just because she was born with special abilities? As a person with common sense, His Majesty doesn't want to use Estrella, nor plans on taking her freedom. Still, the high priest is very persistent, which makes His Majesty burst into so much anger that he sends the mug flying past him on the wall. The pieces of glass float around the head priest's face, indicating that if any word gets out from his mouth, then he would die. Guys, violence is not good, but yes, Elias, yes! Estrella learns how to do things independently since no one remembers her. That way, she likes to do whatever she wants, even if it will make others worry about her. Keratin and Heron wonder why they can hear Siren and Bella worriedly try to persuade Estrella to come down from the pillar. It seems like she's trying to bring down Yellowy from the top. Luckily, Keratin is quick to catch her before she falls to the floor. To be caught by Keratin's arms with his face so close to yours. Are we simping? Yes, we are. Despite his masculinity and uptight leadership, Keratin is surprisingly good at handling kids to the point where Heron wonders if he has a younger sibling. Unfortunately, he doesn't have one. Can we be the one? Just kidding. Estrella then touches his right shoulder and warns him to be careful. For some reason, that part is painful. A moment after, Estrella calls out to her daddy, reminding him of their dinner together. The high priest is quite surprised to witness how Elias, who didn't like animals and was taught not to show emotions before, is quick to change his mood lightheartedly. However, Elias still glares at him, a cue to leave the room. Estrella innocently tells her daddy that it hurts when one's hungry. Elias appreciates her concerns and gives his warmest smile while patting the child's head. However, as curious as she is, she asks her father about the high priest, who seems to be captivated by her glowing divine power. I hope this will turn out well, or else our Elias might get his hands bloody again. We don't want that, right guys? Elias is so careful in everything he wants to do with Estrella that even holding her in his arms requires her permission. The moment she extends both of her arms, he knows that it has been a while since he has seen such an expression. When he puts Estrella on the couch, the high priest asks permission if he can take a closer look in her eyes. But then Elias tells him he should ask permission from the child herself. That's right, Elias. Let's face it, you're the emperor, but she's definitely the emperor's mini-boss. The high priest is confused for a moment, but he totally understands that Elias doesn't want to scare the child into letting strangers do something to her without her consent. Aside from his handsome and gorgeous face, he is such a cool daddy too. Can he be our daddy too? Just kidding. No, we're not. She suddenly hugs Yellowy tightly and tells him that he can't have it. The high priest looks at Elias, but he refuses to help him. When Estrella becomes aware of the high priest's intention, she clenches her fist to cover her eyes. She can tell that he is not evil, but she remembers what her spirit friend has told her. Her friend tells her to be careful of those who want to see her eyes, because it has a precious rock that many bad people are after. Elias realizes that this friend of hers doesn't seem to be completely evil. Rather, it seems that they taught his child how to survive on her own and to be aware of her surroundings. When Elias asks if she can show it to him, Estrella innocently agrees because he gave her a name, food, and a house where she and her animal friends can live. Elias is so patient and kind when it comes to his daughter that even touching her hair is an honor for him. Meanwhile, a man who emits a strong malice is trying to mess up with Carrigan while on duty. Oh no, I feel sorry for this man already. I mean, it's the Carrigan we are talking about. A lot of historical literature says that many wars are caused by jeweled eyes because it has the power to sweep away anyone who has seen it due to its overflowing divine power. When the head priest takes a look at it, he firmly tells Elias that the child must go to the Wild Run territory because the prophecy clearly states that her power is the only solution. Moreover, he tells Elias that his presence in the battle won't be enough to stop the curse. The jewel eyes can see things which cannot be seen by normal eyes, and so, to lessen the number of victims, Estrella's ability is much needed. Besides, those who receive a sacred blessing will not be harmed no matter what evil they encounter. However, Elias suddenly emits a menacing aura, strong enough to dismiss the high priest without having to tell a single word. Estrella pats Elias's head to calm him down, because he releases a painful and loud feeling. Elias hugs his child, thinking about how she'll be forced to live a life far from normal, and that possibility absolutely scares him. I think everyone fears losing someone they truly care for, and our Elias is no exception to that. Back in the forest, the man tries to touch Carrigan's right shoulder, but it electrifies him. He is confused why the armor is imbued with divine power, even though Carrigan isn't in the battlefield. Carrigan simply responds that someone warns him to be careful, but even if he doesn't reveal Estrella's identity, the man knows he was referring to her. With a strike of Carrigan's sword, the man is taken aback. He has no idea that this man is skilled enough to use sword energy. Sword energy here is like imbuing your energy into your sword and using that energy to defeat the enemy. A lot like Demon Slayer, I would say. But, well, what do you expect from the country that received the most blessings from God? The man is bold enough to ask Carrigan if he will kill him without asking any questions. But as cool as he is, Carrigan will surely find the answers to his questions somehow, even if he kills him. The man is aware that if he fights him with full strength, it won't end with just minor wounds. Carrigan has no plan holding back, so he keeps on swinging his sword, not until the man mentioned Estrella's name. It is just for a second, but his attack wavers. The man knows he is right. By the time Carrigan loses his concentration, the man retreats and escapes into the woods. Even for a skilled man like him, that man is undoubtedly strong to match his strength. It's okay, Carrigan. You still won the most handsome face award compared to him. Inside the library, Elias asks the recorder regarding the information about the corrupted stone. Apparently, there were many sealed records from when the demons were still around, but after they went extinct, they became non-existent too. One of the most recent records was about the ruby jeweled-eyed wielder's visit to the village. The villagers had bumps on their skin that would start to rot. The symptoms caused by the corrupted stone would differ from the temperament of each demon depending on their ability. When the ruby-eyed wielder arrived, they found the source of the miasma in the village, and with his ability, He made a sword which was used to cut the stone in half. The people were slowly regaining their older selves back, and after a month, those who were dying finally regained their consciousness. Elias realizes that the only people with jeweled eyes can find the stones, but it doesn't say exactly what will happen to those who possess it. However, there is a way to find the corrupted stones without the jeweled eyes, and that is to summon the soul of the demon. The method will require killing at least 127 people on land. Now, our Elias is left with a hard decision to choose between protecting his people or protecting his daughter by sacrificing his people. Which one would you guys choose? It is written that once a lot of people's blood is sacrificed, the demon soul will smell it and come forth. The recorder understands that Elias is trying to keep Estrella by his side, but it is impossible to fully exempt the child from her task. For the first time, Elias is so suffocated and burdened by his position as the emperor. In his mind, his child has nothing and knows nothing, and that makes him want to protect her even more. It hurts to realize that in order to become a good emperor, one must give up their precious daughter. Oh, the gravity of responsibility of a leader. As Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. Meanwhile, Jaren holds a cute little rabbit in his arms while going to Estrella's room. When Jaren enters the room after knocking, Estrella's face brightens up the moment she locks her eyes on the rabbit. It is so soft and cute that she can't help but pet it. The rabbit suddenly jumps to her and he feels relieved that she likes it. And so, he tells her that she can raise the bunny from then on, because it is his present to her. Estrella is confused as to why he needs to bring a present, but Jaren just wants to be closer to her. He even offers to eat cookies with her if she lets him. Like father, like son, huh? However, Estrella can't eat cookies with him at that moment because she needs to go back to her home. Jaren asks if he can go with her, but despite knowing that her spirit friend might come, she trusts him enough to bring him along as long as he keeps quiet. It's quite easy to earn a child's trust if you just know what makes them happy. Besides, Jaren emits a friendly aura, so that wasn't hard for him. Back at the abandoned castle in the north, the winter spirit wonders where she goes. Back in the forest, the winter spirit hears Estrella's heartbeat getting closer, but oddly enough, he somehow hates that evil thing, but then the child will be lonely. Meanwhile, Estrella wonders how Jaren gets bigger than the last time they saw each other, but before he can answer, she happily rushes to her spirit. It hasn't snowed yet, but the spirit reassures her that his power is returning. For Jaren to be ignored, he easily gets jealous that she seems more relaxed with her friend. The spirit notices how the boy refers to her as Estrella and how she gets to be with her family. Estrella explains that during winter, she will come back to the mansion so her father has repaired it. But then, the spirit can just go to places wherever she goes. She promises to come back once she gets permission from her father. Suddenly, the spirit notices Longi, an ice snake which usually hides themselves in ice ravines, but they are also weak to the heat, so it's kind of rare for them to be out at that time of year. Then, he offers to enter Longi, so the animal will be better in no time. The spirit enters in the snake's body since he's already at his limit. On the other hand, Jaren is planning to report everything to his father. Oh, boo! What a snitch! You betrayed us, brother! By Olivia Rodrigo. Back in the palace, Karajan reports to Elias about the midwife, but the problem is, her hometown is in the While-Run territory. Elias realizes that the world wants Estrella to deal with the situation. It's like destiny is pulling her. He worries about the world that the child will witness. And so Karajan swears on his life to protect her from everything, just like how he protects Elias. This somehow lifts up his worry, and he is glad that there's at least one person he can trust. Then, without hesitation, he orders him to prepare a transmission magic circle since the child is still young and weak. Karajan can't believe that Elias plans on using that. There's just some things you can't understand, Karajan, and that's being a daddy. As his final order, he entrusts him to guard his child and the midwife without fail. When Karajan is about to leave, he finds Jaren at the door, waiting for his turn to talk to his father. However, when he is about to tell everything about the day, his memory becomes blurry and he totally forgets that he has something to say. Uh-oh. Is someone trying to mess with our prince? Or did he just forget to take his memory plus gold? But wait, Elias notices that there is something wrong about his son and he has a bad feeling about it. As Estrella walks down the hallway, she meets someone who emits a sticky feeling. The man introduces himself as Baron Silladin, but before he can say another word, Heron reminds him that entry is forbidden unless someone has permission from Elias. Heron is suspicious of Baron's actions, so Heron tells her not to talk to people like him next time. Yeah, listen to Granny Heron, baby girl. Meanwhile, in his office, Elias seems to be too occupied about the current situation, but Kelby snaps him back to reality, asking if there is something going on since he seems to lose all logical thoughts when it comes to matters related to Estrella. Despite in his state of mind, he is able to listen to Kelpie's report, whether to lower the taxes of the Wild Ren territory or to completely annul it for a while. Then, he issues an imperial order to kick him out after leaving the papers. Kelby tries to calm himself, not to say another word, since he knows that Elias doesn't usually issue an imperial order so easily. But instead of leaving, Kelby confidently steps forward and introduces himself to Estrella. When he asks her if he can eat with them, she blatantly turns him down. Kelby is too stunned to speak, but for Elias, the way his daughter chooses to eat with him makes him blush. Well, Kelby, now you know why you're getting kicked out. Rush along. They need their father-daughter time. Now. After Kelby was officially kicked out, two of the servants inform Elias that the Empress suddenly returns and is now waiting in the dining room. Apparently, she hopped over the walls and avoided the knight's eyes. So if we have a Spider-Man, we might have a frog woman. Just kidding. Elias wonders how to introduce his wife to the child. He then carries Estrella inside. The child sees a glowing red aura coming from Selena, the Empress, but for her, it's not hot at all. What could this glowing red aura mean? Elias, on the other hand, nags his wife to stop addressing him as Emperor Elias. Of course, they are husband and wife, and the formality is somehow weird to him. But you know what's weirder? That we're not Elias's wives. Nuh-uh. When Estrella meets Selena's eyes, she couldn't help but to feel shy. This kind of reaction surprises Elias because as far as he remembers, the child was scared when they first met in the northern castle. Selena sits next to her and asks about her name, even though she already knows what it is. Selena notices the way she calls Elias daddy and tells her that it's rude and that it's commonly used to call animals instead. This immediately worried Estrella that she was insulting Elias all this time. Can't blame her though. She lived alone in the forest with no human interaction for 7 years. We too would call Elias daddy, even with a lot of human interaction though. Elias reassures her that it is fine since he is aware that his child has no ill intent. Selena asks the child that she can call her mom while she can call Elias uncle. Selena hasn't seen her husband so shocked before, so she's enjoying teasing him. Selena often writes in a journal, and sometimes she draws in it as well. That was where she saw Estrella's mother. Her mother had a meek personality, so she didn't enjoy socializing. She was always apologetic toward the Empress, and she didn't leave the palace often because of that. Estrella addresses Elias as uncle when she tells him that Longi doesn't like him. Selena is enjoying witnessing sides of him she has never seen before, but she's acting innocent about it. It's like teasing her husband, reminding him that he has to obtain the things he wants on his own, and fixing Estrella's way of addressing him is no exception. Then, Selena is so kind as to excuse the child because the two of them need to talk about the Wild Ren territory and the one she brought with her. Who could it be? Elias is puzzled by Selena's enigmatic purchase for someone, but she reassures him that he will be pleased to meet that person, who is no other than Urban Grandel, Elias's younger brother. Mentioning Urban's past flirtation with his sister-in-law, Elias expresses his ultimate death glare. Ooh, someone's jealous. However, Urban is trying to blame it on losing the bet, so he has to drink some alcohol, but Elias even wears a darker expression upon hearing this. At this point, just stop talking, Urban. Changing the subject to get away with it, Urban reveals that he knows something about the Aheri clan. Surprising Elias, Urban teased him on his ability to attract women, but Elias is not even in the mood for jokes. Honestly, Urban, don't stretch it if you want to live longer. Urban explains the Aheri's unsociable tradition of incestuous marriages and their belief in karma and punishment. Aheri members can sense each other's emotions and can monitor one another due to their sensitivity to sounds. Elias then remembers Estrella's complaint about the loudness of his feelings. possibly related to the Ahari's abilities. The Ahari clan is unsociable because they always move in groups of 2 so no one can escape. If they even show a trace of betrayal, they'll be killed. And when an Ahari clan member runs away and tries to have a child with a normal human, normally it's their way of committing suicide. For the clan, the child is a disgusting and frightening traitor that has to be killed. The problem is, Estrella doesn't close herself off to others, which means that the other Ahari clan members can monitor where she is. The Ahari clan firmly believes that having a child with an outsider will lead to their own demise. Disappearing is considered a peaceful afterlife for the clan, as long as they aren't killed by their own members. Elias becomes anxious and argues against the idea of a child born for that reason alone and not out of love. Elias is determined to uncover his lost memories, but Urban disagrees, fearing it would cause him only pain. Despite Urban's objection, Elias persists in order to know anything about the child's past. Urban clearly doesn't like Estrella, but with her jeweled eye, she can't be cast aside. Well, we can't blame Urban since Elias was somehow used as someone's means of suicide. After Urban leaves to visit his nephews, Selena comforts Elias. And cue for jealous alert. Selena is like showing us who's really the wife. Unacceptable. Back in their room, Leona and Jaren talk about Estrella's cute qualities, and so they suggest things that can make her happier. Jaren plans on creating a petting zoo for Estrella since she likes animals a lot. But as their uncle arrives, Leona is displeased, but Jaren greets him politely. When Estrella enters the room, Urban observes that she gets along with them a lot better than he expects. Urban steps forward, making a joke, but Estrella doesn't even respond to it. He thinks she hates him, but Estrella claims it is Urban who hates her. Isn't she right, though? Leona can sense the heavy atmosphere and shifts the topic, asking Estrella what she wants to ask Jaren about. Jaren plays along, triggering Estrella's memory of their sudden growth. Leona then explains that the royal family carries star remnants, granting them power. Showing her necklace, Leona promises Estrella one in the future as a family member. Urban tries to interrupt, but is swiftly dismissed by Leona, who suggests that it is time for a snack. Estrella's face lights up at the sight of cookies. We love cookies, don't we, Estrella? She asks Siren if she made them, and Siren admits her helplessness in cooking. It's okay, Siren. You're not alone. Estrella holds the bear happily while Urban observes the child. So, he asks if she likes animals, but Estrella only squints at him. Turning to Siren, she asks if eating the bunny will hurt, but Siren assures her it will not since it is just a cookie and not a real bunny. Also, Jaren keeps asking if he could call her Eddie, explaining that it is short for Estrella. However, she's fine with whatever name as long as they still give her cookies. The nickname Eddie is cute though, not gonna lie. Urban attempts a conversation again, but he is surprised when Estrella responds. This is what you wanted though, right? When he inquires why she thinks he hates her, she remains silent. Urban confesses his growing fondness and offers to give her a bear. Excited to raise one, Estrella's eyes sparkle at the idea. But then Urban mentions how she will raise it when no pets are allowed inside the palace. What's even more confusing for him is how Estrella innocently tells him that she already has some. This intrigues him because Elias dislikes animals. Estrella, however, can't help but to panic about this fact. Urban plans to make Estrella resent Elias, deceiving her with false information. So sly of you, Urban. This leads Estrella to yearn for a visit to Elias, upsetting Leona, who is also preparing to see their father. Seeking answers, Estrella questions the Emperor about his disdain for animals. Urban warns her to cover her jeweled eyes, as it won't be good to show them to everyone. Leona and Jaren glare at Urban as he leaves to see the firstborn nephew prompting their calls. Estrella walks through the hallway, discussing her uncle's animosity for her spirit friend. Can we just take a moment and appreciate her spirit friend's appearance? He is a cutie! As Estrella mentions her pets' names, the spirit gets confused and advises her to return to the previous castle. Estrella reveals her plan to leave when snow falls, and the spirit questions if she has been kicked out, leaving Estrella perplexed. After bidding the spirit farewell, Estrella seeks permission from Heron to visit the Emperor. Inside, Estrella mentions their talk with Urban, interrupted by Elias' dislike being called uncle. But he overthinks a lot, so to change the subject, Elias asks if she wants to return, leaving Estrella deeply affected by the ensuing silence. Elias expresses his desire for Estrella to stay, assuring her freedom of expression. However, Estrella questions the meaning of family since her only mother abandoned her. Estrella's heart aches, recalling her mother's sudden departure. The book's words echo in her memory, emphasizing the traditional image of a family she lacks. Poor Eddie. Curiosity mingles with Estrella's pain as she questions the meaning of family and its evolution. Elias struggles to comprehend her plight, leaving her speechless. Overwhelmed, Estrella covers her ears and inadvertently taps into Elias's emotions. Concerned, everyone rushes to her side. Amidst the commotion, Karajan senses a shift in the air. They witness a spirit emerging, swiftly protecting Estrella. The spirit reveals that what she is hearing is an emotion called worry, particularly about her mother's passing, and that it isn't scary as he previously told her. She turns to the Emperor, who expresses his deep concern for her. Her smile reassures him, while the spirit laments their perceived inability to care for a single child. Despite Karajan's readiness to defend, Estrella recognizes the spirit as her friend and intervenes. Elias humbly kneels, seeking understanding of his impact on Estrella, but pauses a bit after she calls him uncle again. Our Elias is too stunned to speak. So is Karajan. So are we. Not really. We're having fun teasing Elias here. Amused, the spirit giggles. Elias expresses how he wanted to know the spirit's identity and origin. Puzzled by its sudden appearance and connection to Estrella, Elias ponders its unnoticed presence and true role in her life. Eagerly awaiting the next day, Kelphil's terrace suddenly froze under a cold breeze. Smiling at his recklessness, a spirit materialized, warning him not to touch Estrella. Confused, Kelphil realizes the spirit speaks of the child he had encountered. The ice freezes his feet, a forewarning danger, and despite using his flare, the spirit freezes his hand, diminished by its eternal slumber due to Kelphil's taboo-breaking actions. The series mentions the spirit's ability to hear sounds in the past chapters. He also has the same shade of hair as Eddie's mother as well. Perhaps he's related to the Aheri clan or directly to Eddie? What do you guys think? As the spirit vanishes, Kelphil pleads for its return, but it disappears. Elias apologizes to Estrella for putting her in danger, but she remains unfazed, content with her teddy bear and trust in her uncle. Yearning to be called Dad, Elias embraces her, assuring her of Karajan and Sir William's presence. Seriously, Eddie, just give the man back the dad title, or we'll give it to him instead. Carrying Estrella, they enter the magic circle, ready to be transmitted. Kelphil greets them, looking weary from sleeplessness caused by melting the ice. Elias reassures Estrella of his unwavering protection, regardless of what lays ahead. Oh, so sweet of you, Daddy. The Viscount of Wildrun expresses sincere gratitude to Isaac, who also has the aquamarine jeweled eyes, for his role in helping numerous patients recover. Could he possibly be a relative of Eddie? The Viscount mentions the impending arrival of the Emperor, hoping for a reunion with his family. Doubts plague Isaac, fearing rejection due to his abandonment. Yet, the Viscount reassures him, affirming the Emperor's strong sense of responsibility. Relieved, Isaac yearns for rest. Honestly, us too, Isaac. Us too. As the boy leaves the room, he reveals his true nature, that the eyes do not belong to him. Oh, never mind. Then, the Emperor arrives at the Viscount's residence, where the Viscount greets him. Elias wants to put Estrella at ease in another room, but she insists on staying by his side to protect him. Aw, so cute of you, Eddie. You need help protecting Daddy? We volunteer as a tribute. As the discussion continues, Elias is puzzled by this unexpected development and questions the source of their progress. The Viscount reveals it is because of someone with jeweled eyes, shocking everyone, including Elias. Elias orders the boy to be brought forward and lets Uriel confirm it. As the boy enters, Estrella makes eye contact with him, causing her to lose consciousness. Elias quickly calls for the doctor, while Isaac, in his shaken state, accuses Estrella of being a monster who resurrects from being a corpse. Excuse me, sir, who are you calling a monster? Isaac is terrified and finds solace as Uriel intervenes, urging the Emperor to address His Highness first. When Elias leaves the room, William questions the boy's claim about Estrella being dead. Of course she can't be. She's the female lead on this story. What you talking about? Isaac is so shocked to see Estrella alive, and he fears for the Emperor's safety. William cautions Isaac about the Emperor's lack of mercy if such a situation occurs again. Isaac ponders Estrella's impact and leaves the room, affirming the truth of their encounter. Knock it off, Isaac. We know you're a fake. Estrella wakes up with Elias on her side, assuring him she is fine. In the dining room, Elias is surprised to see the boy joining them. Apologizing for his previous attitude, the boy seeks forgiveness. Ugh, fake alert. And Elias accepts it, acknowledging his help with the Viscount. Despite Elias's intention to separate them, Isaac insists on staying. Estrella, witnessing Isaac's turmoil, innocently tells him that he must eat because he is hungry. But on Isaac's POV, he questions how a monster can deceive humans perfectly. But nah, isn't it the other way around? Someone's gaslighting themselves. Estrella happily eats while Elias watches her, while Isaac, with mad eyes, questions her audacity to deceive people. How about your audacity, sir? Please keep it in check. He clenches his fist and is determined to protect his position. Despite her suspicions, Estrella offers him food, but he hesitates, wary of her intentions. When Estrella gives him the meat, he secretly pinches her arm, causing her to drop the food. However, Estrella still eats the food on the floor, and for some reason, this angers him, believing she mocks his memories when he used to eat like that. This one's really delusional, huh? Kelfel, who contemplates on corrupting them, knows Jabars possess good souls and can never harm others. Meanwhile, Estrella observes Isaac's black aura, which means hatred, but the blue one is about sadness, pain, misery, and heartbreak that she doesn't know about yet. Not knowing about these is actually a gift. Outside, Elias worries if the horse, Horon, will accept Estrella, recalling Selena's slow bonding process. Despite his discomfort, Estrella wore a jacket provided by Hera. Elias remains concerned about Horon's stubbornness. As Estrella approaches the horse, it lets out a terrifying screech. Oh no, our dear Estrella! Estrella's bright face shows no fear as she approaches Horon, who raises his feet and exchanges bows with the child. Elias is astonished by this unexpected turn of events. She asks Horon if she can touch his soft mane, and the horse nods, lowering its body for her to reach it. Surely she loves animals and is well loved by them, isn't she? Grateful, Estrella hugs the horse, which makes Elias amazed by Horon's newfound friendliness. She calls Horon beautiful, and to her surprise, the horse responds, inviting her to ride. With Elias guiding her, Estrella mounts the horse, expressing her enjoyment. Suddenly, a chilling black mist envelops the area. Estrella senses danger, and so she urges Elias not to get off from Horon. But he insists on protecting her, professing his love and willingness to face any harm, even if it will cost his life. Are they hiring the position of daughters and sons for the Emperor? 'Cause we sure would like to apply. No pay needed at all. She can only describe the town with black everywhere. They observe that the village is consumed by the ominous mist, and Estrella points out an infected guard. Chaos ensues as the guard starts to attack, but William swiftly defeats him in an uppercut, dismissing it as insignificant. Once Isaac heals the soldier, the Viscount and other troops ponder whether Estrella's act of pointing at the devoured creature was mere coincidence or her manipulation. Isaac finds solace in their skepticism, deeming it a setback for her. Kelfil offers to accompany them, though Estrella's reluctance with this guy is evident. She eyes him for a brief moment before reluctantly accepting. Kelfil thinks that the child prioritizes people's safety when he's around. Quite a smart girl, right? Estrella, aware of the miasma's danger, excludes certain soldiers, including Viscount Wildron. The Viscount persists, claiming it's his territory. Elias calmly backs Estrella's judgment due to her unique perception. Suddenly, the Viscount accuses it might be black magic at play. This provokes Elias, who uses his immense divine power to subdue the Viscount to his knees. Turning to Estrella for an explanation, Kelphil seeks clarity. Estrella candidly reveals her decision, stating they're too weak to face the miasma. A sentiment Kelphil appreciates. Oof, burn. Despite her reservations, Estrella allows even Isaac to join due to his insistence. Kelphil observes Isaac, a young boy consumed by madness and obsession, and anticipates an entertaining journey. Does not sound entertaining at all. Everyone proceeds to stride off into the town, with Elias holding Estrella carefully. Such a sweet daddy. She is gasping for air while trying to find a path through the miasma so they won't go insane. With Elias's unwavering support, she adeptly keeps pace and locates the corrupted stone amidst the shrouding black miasma. Kelphil observes from afar, impressed by her youthful mastery over her jeweled eyes. The stone reeks of decay, oddly enormous for its size, suggesting prolonged rot. Elias promises his commitment, assuring her value to the mission remains, regardless of her current assistance. Our little Miss Blonde overthinks a lot. Just as the priests prepare to commence, an ear-piercing voice resounds. Estrella quivers at the approaching flames, a threat not only to her but to Elias and the others. Karajan leaps to shield the Emperor, his gaze drawn to the stone until Priest Uriel halts him. Cutting the demon's heart, brimming with miasma, would engulf the Empire. The purification, spanning 2 weeks to a month, appears to be the sole remedy. The direst outcome? Life force is already diminishing. Meanwhile, Kelphil reclines against a tree, anticipating Estrella's action, when the winter spirit suddenly emerges. He just always comes right on time. The winter spirit arrives in its full form, a sight that Kelphil mocks. As Estrella rushes to the stone, despite its miasma and flames, the spirit recognizes her affection for humans despite growing up alone and was never taught how to properly cry. Aww, Eddie. He has to sleep for 1.5 years just to raise her, but he never regretted it. Yet, when a demon associates with a Jabbar, they can forsake humanity, much like the ruby-eyed entity who slaughtered humans and perished, consumed by deep-seated resentment. Will history repeat itself or not? Amidst dire warnings, her amber eyes halt the others in their tracks. Instantly, they freeze, and Elias's despair turns to a piercing scream as she steps into the blazing stone. Eddie, no! For such a young child, she is beyond heroic. Suddenly, Kelphil's true demon form emerges. The winter spirit longs to reach Estrella, yet respects her choice to decide. Despite her fear, memories of joy with her siblings, kindness from all, and her father's warmth flood Estrella. These reasons bind her against letting them perish. The demon questions her resolve, even unto death. She flinches at the sound of a familiar voice. How will she be able to cut him down? The winter spirit joins the group, assuring Estrella's safety. Elias clenches his fist in frustration, recalling his inability to stop her. The spirit points out he guided her to the tainted stone. Alone, Estrella learned human emotions, recognizing anger, despair, and pain in her eyes. Undeterred, she persisted. Now, viewing her as kin, Elias must understand her path. Estrella settles, questioning why she was summoned, flinching at the flame's touch. Suddenly, Kelphil intervenes, preventing further contact and offering reassurance against fear. Hold up. I'm sorry, but why is his demon form hotter than his flames? He details how the flame aims to consume her and masquerade as her, spreading malice worldwide. The child persists in asking why, a source of frustration for him more than his own fearsome form. That's why you're not a daddy, Kelph. Yet. But Estrella grasps his motive to rescue him amidst it all. Kelphil denies it, though Estrella empathizes, having also desired life after abandonment. The thought of soothing a baby vexes him. Let the child have her moment, Kelphil. She's the MC here. Suddenly, he creates a knife from the tip of his finger and hands it to her, instructing the child to stab him so they can get out. She's just a child. Estrella can't help but to ask him what he wants to do. Kelphil seeks to undo his past wrong, even contemplating self-inflicted end if he can't. He questions Estrella about her secrecy regarding him. To her, he's not truly malevolent, despite her past label. Kelphil regrets sharing with her, given her unpredictable nature. Kids are always unpredictable, Kelphil. Trusting his instincts, he unveils his true identity, Kelphil, the spirit of fire, to Estrella. However, her lack of awareness about his existence irritates him. He didn't anticipate the winter spirit pettiness in keeping the other spirits a secret from her. Nonetheless, onward he goes. Story time. Spirits possess consciousness and attribute to elements like wind, earth, fire, and water. Yet the 4 ice spirits are unique, emerging as superior water-derived entities. The fire spirit's curiosity led him astray. While observing the human realm, he discovered fiery beads resembling fireworks. Touching them corrupted him with human grudges and murderous intent. His innocence stripped away, he transformed into a vengeful demon. He claims his spirit colors has vanished, but Estrella argues remnants remain. The corruption holds Kelphil in its grip. Estrella suggests taking his eyes, believing his kindness turned dark. Reflecting on her own past, where she harmed her father upon their initial meeting in the northern castle, she embraces her darkness. No, how innocent. Rising calmly, she effortlessly takes his ruby eyes, contrasting his futile attempts to reclaim them, no matter how hard he tries. When she's done, she compliments how beautiful his purple eyes are. They really are. Kelphil's hands shield his face, brimming with relief as the burning sensation ceases. Estrella soothes him with a reassuring touch, confirming his well-being. Later, he discloses his true name, Igni, pledging unwavering protection as her savior. Aw, Kelphil is nice, just lost his way there. Her genuine laughter echoes her consent, yet as her gaze lingers on the ruby eyes, they transform into dust, corrupting her own. Igni intervenes, cutting her palm and urging her to envision her blood on the dagger and to make it harder. Instantly, she acquires the ruby-eyed power to forge potent weapons, though Igni foresees an added future burden. Following this, Igni directs her to pierce the ground, facilitating her escape. As she departs, his realization dawns. Estrella's innocence is unwavering, so his commitment to her solidifies. Meanwhile, Estrella emerges from the tainted stone, embraced by Elias's welcoming arms. We're back, Daddy. Eddie is back. Emerging from darkness, she finds Elias waiting, a warm embrace of fatherly comfort. Amidst the spreading flames, she reassures them, invoking Igni's name. Elias spots the wound on her palm. Her eyes transform to ruby, forging a blood sword, leaving Elias bewildered and concerned. In the aftermath, Elias commands silence on the event, threatening dire consequences if word gets out. The aquamarine-eyed wielder's fate, however, hinges on Elias consulting his brother before deciding. Did Elias just assume that it's Irvin's son? Their hair color is the same, so maybe. Meanwhile, Karajan's gaze upon the red sword triggers an unsettling longing. His fist tightens with a sinister urge to wield it against others. Elias ponders Karajan's intentions, only to be interrupted by a sudden eruption of furious screams. A knight named Jerry radiates a malevolent reddish aura, bearing a wicked grin as he charges at Karajan. To his astonishment, blocking with his mithril sword, Karajan witnesses Estrella's blood-forged blade inflicting damage. Jerry's strength and speed surpass his normal levels, twice the power. Kelphil, yes, it's still Igni inside, suspects Jerry's manipulation. Karajan questions how he arrived and presses for an explanation regarding the term controlled. The Ruby Jewel's possessor once blamed humans, leading to their massacre. Hence, Karajan's strategy is to disarm Jerry without direct confrontation. Amid clashes, he succeeds in knocking the sword free. Inquiring about any differences, Jerry confesses to newfound exhilaration, executing previously impossible maneuvers. In an instant, Karajan grasps the sword and comprehends its dual nature, to control and instruct. As a knight accustomed to combat, he remains unswayed by its influence. God, let's hope he stays that way. Elias enters Estrella's room, discovering her enjoying cookies with Zion. Reflecting on her acquisition of the ruby eyes, a paternal urge to embrace her arises. Concerned about cookie crumbs, Estrella hesitates, yet Elias's worries run deeper. As their embrace unfolds, Elias requests a promise to keep her powers hidden and refrain from using them. Fears of abandonment surface in Estrella, but he reassures her of his profound love. He affirms that her usefulness doesn't define her place, vowing never to cast her aside, even amidst challenges. Elias is the greenest of the green. She wonders why, and he replies that he is her father, even the midwife. Silence. He dismisses his thoughts. Without a doubt, she's his daughter, and he urges her to open up about any struggles to both family and trusted confidants. Meanwhile, in the dining room, Leona playfully ribs Derek about their initial forest encounter with Estrella. Calm down, Derek. Leona just loves teasing you. Selena arrives, instructing everyone to find their seats as Elias and Estrella approach. In the hallway outside the dining room, Estrella basks in the comforting aura exuding from within. Upon their entrance, Leona warmly embraces Estrella, and the siblings engage the youngest sibling. Oh, they're the best siblings! Elias finds it hard to fathom Selena's presence. She managed the Empire during his absence, while Derek's dedication stands out. Derek greets his sister, met with silence. He ventures whether she despises him, to which she confirms. Swiftly, he apologizes for his harshness and his subsequent friendliness. Estrella, averse to pain, hesitates. Derek vows to avoid hurting her again, prompting her forgiveness and addressing him as Derek, though he prefers being called brother. But it's better than being ignored, right? It's okay, Derek. You'll get to that being called brother point. Elias even had an uncle era. That was fun. Over dinner, Elias wonders why Selena is so gentle with Estrella. Excuse me, sir, but she likes little girls. She deserves one, don't you think? Just kidding. Elias then announces that Estrella will be officially introduced as a princess of the Empire. Soon after, Selena praises Estrella's bravery, jesting that Elias nearly suffered a heart attack. Inquisitive, Estrella inquires about her father. Selena playfully teases Elias about his escape from that thing. Curious yet again, Estrella questions if she's the thing, and Selena reassures her that she's not. With a gentle touch to her cheek, Selena advises Estrella to seek aid when summoning courage in the future, even when she's the sole solution. Selena isn't wrong when she thinks that Estrella can be easily taken away, but she has two spirits protecting her now, so be at ease, mother. Estrella reveals she wasn't overly scared within the corrupted stone due to another presence. Selena's adeptness with children conceals her curiosity, though Elias perceives it. Keeping the secret to shield the person from trouble, Estrella's hair is gently brushed by Selena, who asserts its right to reprimand wrongdoers. Estrella counters, noting the uncontrollable nature of the person's actions, just similar to how Elias forgot her. Selena pledges to forgo scolding upon learning the person's name, sealed with a pinky promise. Estrella urges her dad to promise the same. In this way, Estrella discloses a monster, a being with a vast heart. Elias struggles to fathom that his child had an encounter with a demon. She's just as brave and powerful like you, Daddy-El. Elias, aware of his duty as emperor to eliminate demons, is interrupted by Estrella's plea for kindness and restraint. The urge to debate is stifled by his memory of the Winter Spirits Council. Elias recounts the past atrocities committed by demons, but Estrella assures he won't follow that path. In the night, Selena discovers him lost in thought with a glass of wine. An unusual sight. Concerned, she takes the glass. Questioned about his unease, he admits a fear of utilizing Estrella to extract information and apprehend the demon. As the kingdom's emperor and empress, addressing such matters is their responsibility. However, Elias fears exploiting their child. The desire to be both a competent ruler and a nurturing parent seems unattainable, forcing them to navigate a delicate balance. Selena, never expecting to have a new child at her age, plans to remain in the imperial city for now. She reassures Elias not to overly agonize about the situation. Excuse me, Mother. You look way better than all of us at that age, and with kids! Elias's face turns red and buries his head on her lap as she brushes his golden hair. OMG, our parents, everyone! They're stealing the drama from the child! Selena then flicks his forehead, assuring him that she will be there for a while when he sleeps. I don't know if it's because of the alcohol or if he's really blushing. Elias rests on the couch as Selena watches, noting their striking resemblance in their sleep. Selena muses that Elias is undoubtedly Estrella's father. She believes he has no need to fret, as Estrella is bound to flourish as she grows. What exactly is the Empress's ability? Can you guys tell? Overwhelmed by her gifts, Estrella selects a green box with a red ribbon to open first. Suspicion arises due to a black aura around it, prompting her to snatch it before Siren can handle it. Opting for Kerrigan, she instructs him to deliver the box to her father. The way she commands mirrors Elias, unsettling Siren, though Kerrigan assumes Estrella must have her reasons. Well, like father, like daughter, Siren. In the corridor, they encounter Kelphil, who detects the box's foul scent. His demon nature still allows him to identify such things. Spotting him from behind a wall, Estrella is relieved. In his anxiety, Kelphil underscores his name, cautioning her not to reveal his true identity. As they walk, Estrella holds his finger, suggesting they simply discard the box as it is. OMG, the way she holds his finger and his reaction is beyond cute. Kerrigan remains skeptical of Kelphil and inquires how he knew about the box. Scratching the back of his head, he explains that his mother is a gypsy as a defense. Observing Kerrigan's vigilant demeanor, he recognizes his knight-like behavior. Despite rumors depicting him as weak and timid, as the second eldest of the Felion family, he is quite the opposite. Yes, we agree, and soon we will be part of the Felion family too. Walking together, Kelphil suggests utilizing the Red Blade, a potent weapon capable of preemptively detecting danger and sensing nearby evil. This is an asset in safeguarding Estrella from adversaries. Upon entering, Elias warmly receives her, indicating there's no issue with Kerrigan and Kelphil joining, although this is contrary to Irvin's sentiments. Irvin and Selena are also present. Although Irvin gazes at her, she dismisses him, turning to her father for advice. Estrella points out the black aura box, apprehensive about its contents. Elias comforts her with a hug, assuring her she need not face it if she's uncomfortable. Following orders, Kerrigan opens the box, revealing a human head speaking unintelligibly. Amid the shock, Selena suspects it's an ancient language beyond everyone's understanding in the room except her. The disembodied voice proclaims its intent to kill the traitor. Estrella comprehends every word, prompting Elias to urge her not to heed it. Yet her unease grows as she contemplates if she's at fault. Elias hides his concern behind closed eyes, though Estrella senses his anxiety, worsened by his newfound paleness. Confusion plagues Estrella. In a sudden turn, Selena steps in, offering to accompany Estrella to her room. Consumed by anger, Elias demands scholars be summoned to meticulously decipher the words. Oh no, someone's gonna kill Whomst. In the beginning, a sun god and moon god graced existence. Two deities descended to the human realm, sparking a territorial clash and dividing the world into day and night. Ultimately, the sun god prevailed, establishing residence among humans. In contrast, the moon god lost not only his powers but also his name. For gods coexisting with humans, a name encapsulates their essence and strength, fueled by human recollection and prayer, amplifying their power. This dynamic applies to all gods descending to the human realm, unable to receive direct power from their creator. As a result, the moon god, nameless, couldn't return to the divine realm or grant power to his descendants. Meanwhile, the sun god garnered believers and offspring, assuming an emperor-like role. Kelphil's knowledge vexes Kerrigan, but Kelphil just grins and continues. I mean, he's the fire spirit, that's why. The weakened moon god mustered a few followers in a last-ditch effort to evade oblivion, driving him to guide his children. Hence, the Aheri clan refrained from mingling with humans beyond their circles due to the sun god's potential lineage. Over time, the moon god's believers multiplied, forming uncontrollable groups, while others yearned for a life beyond. In this context, Elias crossed paths with Estrella's mother. As a result, it became a haven from the gods, a place untouched by divine or sun god's abandonment. This dwelling marked the origin of the Aheri tribe. Questioning the sun god's abandonment, Elias prods Kelphil to share a rumor that the moon god begged mercy from the sun god, seeking return to the divine realm. Eventually named himself Laith, he embodied nothing existed. Kelphil insists Elias should halt probing the Aheri clan. A god amassing power silently over the immeasurable period proved insurmountable. Seeing that these followers are still active, it means that the moon god is alive in some form, somewhere. But what is it that you consider a god in the first place? Elias grapples with his decision to limit Estrella's movements to the imperial palace and temple, both enveloped by the sun god's divine power. Having one more question, Elias wonders about Kelphil's information source. Given his extensive reading, he has never heard about it. Flustered, Kelphil attempts to justify his travels, citing Irvin's wanderings, yet Irvin remains oblivious to this tale. Annoyed by the lack of help his provided information is yielding, Kelphil resorts to citing the winter spirit, albeit it's as if they're closely acquainted. I wonder how the winter spirit will react to this. Upon Elias's dismissal, he instructs Kerrigan to have someone tail Kelphil. Shortly thereafter, Elias rises to update Selena, entrusting Irvin with pressing matters. However, before departing, Elias probes Irvin about the child possessing aquamarine jeweled eyes, resembling Irvin's own hair color. Despite feeling his privacy invaded, Irvin denies being the child's father. But what if he is? Are we gonna call you daddy now too, Irvin? Just kidding. Elias further contemplates Estrella's acquisition of ruby eyes despite her amber irises, advising Elias to solve the aquamarine-eyed child's predicament similarly. This prompts Elias to realize that multiple bejeweled eyes have surfaced within the same generation. Amber, ruby, aquamarine, and perhaps next diamond. He charges Irvin with locating the diamond-eyed wielder, known to possess almost colorless, transparent irises. Elias discovers Estrella in a disagreement with Zion. She's upset as Zion took her pie without an apology. Its frustration heightens when she prefers to bring a cub along instead of him. Elias intervenes, aiding Estrella in reconciling with Zion. In a poignant moment, Estrella reveals her fear of hunger returning and people leaving, which is why she became angry about the stolen food. Elias briefly falls silent but reassures her that asking for food will always bring help. He assures Estrella that no one dislikes her and that they love her immensely. Yes, we do, so much. Right, guys? Despite this, she's conscious of being different from the Emperor. Suddenly, she asks a painful question. What would she do if he were to forget her one day? Oh, this should not be the concern of such a young one. Elias grapples with the question, fearing that promises might not materialize. His knowledge about her and her biological mother is limited, rendering him unable to offer a certain answer concerning an unfamiliar race. Lying is out of the question. Holding her close, he carries her while contemplating sharing profound joys to counterbalance her past sorrows, surpassing his own adversities. Outside, he imparts his response. He confesses he never wants to forget her, ever. Oh, I wish for their happy ending. As Elias continues to embrace Estrella, he promises that he won't ever forget her, and that he even writes a diary every day to ensure it. Our Elias surely deserves the Best Daddy award. Elias continues by asking Estrella if she can be his daughter, and Estrella asks too if her pet Zion can also be part of the family, to which he agrees. Overflowing with joy, Estrella embraces her father, relishing the sense of belonging within the family. Amidst their embrace, Oslo's call for the Emperor interrupts them. Oslo arrives accompanied by Rafus, who approaches Estrella, seeking her forgiveness for his actions and his ignorance of her imperial lineage. Conflicted about how to proceed, Estrella turns to her father for guidance on the matter of forgiveness. After listening to Elias's advice, she addresses Rafus, expressing her decision to grant forgiveness this once, and this once alone. Such a kind soul our Eddie is. Blushing, Rafus asks if he can be friends with her, and Estrella shyly agrees. So Rafus offers her a handshake to seal their friendship. They then part ways after Rafus invites Estrella to visit him sometime in the archives room. At the start of the event for Estrella's official declaration of her title, she enters the hall together with her pets, capturing the attention of the guests. In the midst of the crowd, among the guests watching Estrella is Oslo, commenting on her innocent aura. She also notices that there is something shady about Isaac. Indeed, he is such a suspicious boy. When Estrella arrives in the front, Elias points out to her the number of pets she brought. But after she explains herself, the Emperor can't resist those bejeweled eyes and instantly accepts her reason. I mean, who can? We sure can't too. And so the ceremony begins with the High Priest, Julius Heraton, officiating and declaring that Estrella is indeed Emperor Elias's daughter. He adds that the amber-bejeweled eyes of Estrella are called the Tears of the Sun. Elias then follows and proudly expresses that Estrella should be known as his daughter. All hail to our Princess Estrella Sol Grandel. 2 years have already passed. Oh, just how fast our cutie Estrella has grown. In the forest, Heron calls for Estrella to attend her class, but she grunts that she hates the history subject and just wants to play. So Heron brings up the topic of cookies, and makes a deal with her that she can take a rest today from classes, but she must attend tomorrow's class, and she excitedly agrees. We just can't resist cookies, right, Eddie? On their way back to the palace, she tells him about what Leona told her, that she would introduce her to a friend. Upon learning the details of the invitation, he tells her that it's called a tea party where she can have fun with friends. Later on, as Estrella roams the palace, she runs into Isaac and sees a dark blue aura surrounding him. He is annoyed seeing her and accuses her again of being a monster. Isn't it the other way around, sir? She then tells him that if he doesn't throw away his jeweled eyes, he will die soon, and ponders to herself that his eyes are corrupting his lifespan. Just after Isaac walks away from Estrella, she bumps into a mysterious black-haired man. Who is this man? As the man apologizes to her, she observes that he doesn't emit any aura, and it baffles her. He then asks for her name, but instead of answering him, she returns the question to him. Yeah, who are you, handsome stranger? But the man also doesn't give his name and says that they can't be friends. She agrees and walks away from him. Estrella then arrives in her room. Not long after, she hears a knock and sees her dad's aura. The door then opens as Elias calls for her. Seeing her sitting on the floor, he asks his daughter if something happened that troubles her. After hearing her short response, he adds that she can tell anything to him, and she reaches out to hug him, agreeing with what he just said. Such a cutie, Estrella, not wanting to worry her dad. Good girl. Lifting her into his arms, he confesses that the thought of her feeling powerless upsets him. A faint dark blue aura emanates from him, leaving her curious about its meaning. Elias inquires about Estrella's upcoming tea party, and then extends an invitation for them to enjoy the spring festival outside the castle. The prospect of a fun outing elicits an enthusiastic agreement from Estrella. Once her servants assist in her preparations, she inquires whether they'll be attending the festival. They reveal their plans to venture out at night, mentioning that the nocturnal activities are reserved for adults. Her disappointment is evident, but they console her by emphasizing the daytime festivities are enjoyable and note her aversion to darkness. You'll soon get your chance to enjoy the outside at nighttime too, Eddie. Upon seeing Estrella, Leona hugs her tightly, then her two brothers, together with her dad, follow and greet her. Elias then asks her if it's all right that her siblings will come along too, and she agrees. The more the merrier, right? Just then, Selena and Irvin appear and say that they'll join too. Elias tells Irvin to stay at the palace, but he doesn't want to. Elias even insists that he should stay. Suddenly, Irvin grabs Estrella and runs off, carrying her. Such a silly move there, Irvin. As the carriage departs from the palace, Estrella's frustration prompts her to demand a stop, but Irvin calmly instructs her to remain seated, explaining their distance from the palace. He playfully insists she address him as uncle, yet she stubbornly declines. Their conversation mostly revolves around their mutual dislike for each other. Irvin initiates a conversation, advising Estrella not to conceal her struggles and to confide in others when she's troubled. He probes her belief that he dislikes her, and she explains that she senses she makes him uncomfortable. Curious about his feelings, she asks why he dislikes her. Irvin counters that he'll reveal his reason if she addresses him as uncle, leading to her reluctant compliance. He explains that Selena and Elias worry about her because she keeps her thoughts to herself. Estrella then reflects on her concerns, expressing fear that being close to her might endanger her father and family's safety, evoking memories of her past trauma and the ominous head she received. Ugh, that creepy head! She further explains that the head appears in her dreams and talks to her every day too. When Irvin asks why she didn't tell anyone about it, she answers that she feels like she will die once she talks about it. Our poor Eddie has been keeping it all to herself. She must have been so scared dreaming about that head. Just when she refuses to do what Irvin suggests about telling her dad, Elias opens the carriage. She then immediately hugs him. As Elias carries Estrella, she confirms to him what she learned from Irvin, that he drinks if she makes him worry. So he explains to her that she should learn to open up and rely on adults, even if it's dangerous since she's still young, and that she can ask them to protect her. That's right, Eddie. It's okay to ask for help and not just keep all worries to yourself. Elias continues to comfort her, emphasizing that she can trust him and express her emotions without fear. He reassures her that it's perfectly okay to feel scared and that she should always feel free to ask for protection when needed. Estrella reflects on her past when she felt alone and thought she shouldn't burden others by crying. She shares how she endured loneliness, coldness, and darkness while waiting for her friend, Mr. Spirit. She confesses that deep down, she was terrified that everything would vanish. Oh, Eddie, that must have been a really tough time for you. Upon hearing Elias's words of comfort, Estrella begins to cry on his shoulder. Shortly after, the rest of the family arrives and witness the scene. As they reach the town, Estrella's siblings offer her comfort and gifts. Selena suggests finding something to eat, mentioning that Elias will take care of Estrella's presents in the carriage. She suggests they explore the area without him. Such a bully to her husband. Selena then carries Estrella and they start having a conversation about swordsmanship since Estrella wants to learn it. They are such an adorable family. Back in the palace, Irvin stumbles upon Isaac, and when he learns that he's going to the dining hall, he asks if he would like to eat together with him. But Isaac declines his offer. As they part ways, Irvin ponders about his thoughts on Isaac while the latter hides against the wall, panting. You're really getting suspicious, Isaac. During the tea party, Estrella and Leona are joined by Holly Charand and Karen Hershar. As Leona steps away to fetch a new type of milk she created, Estrella finds herself alone with Holly and Karen. They engage in a pleasant conversation, bonding over their shared interest in cats. Estrella learns that Karen's father doesn't like cats, and she offers to speak to her own father to try and change his perspective on the matter. Aw, so sweet of you to offer, Eddie. On their way to Count Hishar, they stumble upon Jaren. Upon learning Estrella's business with Count Hishar, he remembers that the Count is known for being strict, so he asks if he can tag along, reasoning that he might be able to help her, to which she agrees. Such a sweet brother. Encountering Estrella and Jaren, the Count is surprised and inquires about their presence. Seizing the moment, Estrella holds Goldie and candidly asks the Count if he finds cats cute. We are not the Count, but yes, cats are cute! She playfully suggests that he should consider getting a cat too, promising to visit if he does. The Count explains his aversion to raising animals, but Estrella persists, asserting that Karen can handle it well. Interjecting, Estrella reassures the Count that Karen is more than capable of caring for a cat. He asks Karen if she'd like to pet a cat, and she excitedly agrees. He agrees to discuss the idea further once they return to their estate, leaving Karen thrilled and grateful to Estrella. Nice one, Eddie! Meanwhile, a mysterious man whom Estrella encountered earlier converses with another individual. The latter addresses him as Holiness and inquires if he found what he was searching for. The Holiness replies that he located his child, who was quite mischievous, as well as the diamond eyes. He notes that the diamond eyes lack a host and thus won't have the desired effect. The Holiness then exclaims how his child, which shows Estrella, has the jewel of the sun. What? Why does he call Estrella his child? He then continues that he must save his child first, and he needs the strongest diamond wielder, so all that's left will be for everyone to disappear. In the palace at night, Isaac is having nightmares and remembers what Estrella told him that he's going to die. I mean, that's absolutely horrifying indeed. When morning comes and he wakes up, he faces the mirror and prepares himself for the day. He thinks that everything will be fine as long as he doesn't get caught. As he goes for a walk, he meets Irvin along the way, and the latter invites him to dine together. When they start eating, Irvin checks on him, and as their conversation continues, he gets uncomfortable. The tension between them intensifies when Irvin asks him how he got his jeweled eyes when he's not his son. Isaac is taken aback by Irvin's question. Suddenly, he falls to the floor. When Irvin comes to his side to check on him, he gets up and walks away. Did he just act to get away from being questioned? What a weird guy. As Isaac opens the door of the front hall, the mysterious guy appears and stabs him with a dagger. Uh-oh! Irvin rushes to Isaac's side and confronts the enigmatic individual. The stranger dismisses Irvin's anger, asserting that Isaac's fate is sealed and death is inevitable. Disappearing into the shadows, he cryptically discloses that the jeweled eyes forcibly bestowed upon Isaac are a death sentence, rendering his survival impossible. Meanwhile, in the church, the high priest receives an ominous oracle foretelling a looming catastrophe for the Grandel Empire. Oh no, this is bad! Estrella gazes out of the palace window, noting the awkward moon and the weeping, clear, bejeweled eyes. She shares with Elias and Selena that the moon is her real mother's father and the sender of the head that haunts her dreams. She discloses that the moon is a god and believes it's attempting to whisk her away. Their conversation is disrupted when Irvin appears, carrying the injured and bleeding Isaac. At the sight of Isaac's condition, Estrella senses a surge of malevolent darkness around him, speculating the presence of a sinister spirit within him. A few days later, as Estrella sits on her bed with Zion, Isaac enters her room. His eyes have changed. He asks her if she isn't going with Leona to see Count Hashar. He then starts talking to Estrella about the different powers she possesses and adds that humans will just betray her. He also claims that the Imperial family will use her, so he hands her the aquamarine jewel and pleads for her to leave the palace. That is his aquamarine eyes from before! Estrella replies to him that what he said will not happen, but then Isaac says that she can never understand what he felt. He recalls his past life where he was imprisoned and angrily tells her advice. Suddenly, Estrella cuts him off and demands he give Isaac back his body. So the one inside Isaac is not the real Isaac anymore. After their arguments, the fake Isaac leaves Estrella in her room. She then ponders on what to do and asks for her friend Mr. Spirit. Mr. Spirit appears and comforts Estrella. She then tells him that there is something weird inside Isaac, and when he offers to get rid of it for her, she declines. She explains that she wants to be the one to do it. Atta girl! She feels that they are the same and thinks that the person inside Isaac isn't bad. He then asks her the way to deal with evil spirits inside someone's body, and she replies that it is to destroy the item that the evil spirit is inhabiting. She recalls that the item is the dagger that was used to stab Isaac. When morning comes, Estrella sets out for Leona's tea party. She bumps into Igni along the way. He talks to her about the change he observed in Isaac and points out that the eyes Isaac now possesses are the diamond eyes. After talking, they part ways, and then Isaac appears in front of Estrella. Speaking of the devil, and he shall appear. He asks where she is going, and after hearing her answer, he tells her that Leona's tea party has been moved from the main garden to the flower garden. But she doesn't believe him and continues walking to the main garden. It turns out that Isaac was telling the truth, since upon checking the main garden, it is empty and there's no sign of any tea party happening. Estrella names the cherished individuals around her and questions Isaac if he doesn't have such people in his life. He responds that her young age prevents her from comprehending his perspective on humanity, proposing a deal instead. At Leona's tea party, Isaac arrives, telling Leona that Estrella doesn't wish to attend. Unbeknownst to him, Estrella is eavesdropping nearby. Earlier, Isaac instructed her to remain hidden and not to inform Leona. Isaac's manipulation attempts fail to sway Estrella's belief that Leona cares about her. She then inquires about his true identity. Shockingly, he reveals himself as Nalian Yule Grandel, the possessor of the diamond-bejeweled eyes. What? So he's a Grandel? So why does he hate the Imperial family when they share the same last name? In the church, the new oracle arrives. Julius informs Elias and Irvin that it mandates Estrella's participation in the upcoming expedition led by the princes Derek and Jaren. He states that if Elias doesn't want to lose both princes, sending Estrella is imperative. Elias is infuriated by the revelation, but Julius explains that Estrella's purpose for being born aligns with this expedition. He reveals that giving her the jeweled eyes was intended to make her a tool of God. Our poor Eddie, she's just a child, but it seems like she's carrying the world already. Estrella meets Julius, who turns out to be her grandpa since the high priest is Elias's father. He then talks about how the god of the Aheri people did something that shouldn't have been done. After receiving his punishment, he grew angry, and that's why he's lashing out now. She then tells him that since she loves his family, she'll protect them. That's why she'll go on the expedition. How brave of you, Eddie. When nighttime comes, Estrella goes to her parents' room and asks if she can sleep with them. Before they sleep, she tells them that she loves them, and they reply that they love her too. Such sweetness overload for this family. I hope they get a happy ending. The next day, Elias meets Derek, Jaren, Irvin, Igni, and Estrella as they will now embark on their expedition. Before sending them off, he gives a present to Estrella, which is a falcon bird named Kun that can guide them and be their messenger bird. Estrella then promises her dad that she'll be back as she kisses his forehead. Oh, so sweet. This brings tears to my eyes. Please be safe, Eddie. As their expedition begins, it becomes clear that Isaac has also joined them at Irvin's request. A month later, during their journey, they encounter a formidable red octopus-like monster. Irvin instructs Derek and Jaren to keep their distance and stay close to Estrella for protection. In the midst of the unfolding situation, Isaac draws Estrella's attention. By his side stands the enigmatic man she crossed paths with earlier. Inquiring about his identity, she learns he is her mother's guardian and that her mother was his first follower. He reveals he comes to take her with him. Playfully, Estrella grabs his cloak, giggly as she calls him Moon. Ah, hence the gray eyes. Meanwhile, Derek and Jaren spot Estrella with the unfamiliar man. As they move to approach her, Igni intervenes, advising them to stay back as Estrella is trying to safeguard them. Simultaneously, Irvin and the other knights confront the monstrous red creature in battle. Igni engages in combat with Isaac, employing his fiery abilities. As he checks on Estrella, he's taken aback by her willingness to follow the moon god. Expressing his concern about the risk she faces, she assures him that with him by her side, she feels protected. The moon god interjects, asserting that nothing can be done, and he prepares to take Estrella with him. He allows one companion to accompany her, opening a portal. Just as Estrella is about to step through, Derek calls out to her, asking where she's headed. He attempts to reach her with his swords, but Igni employs fire to block him, with Jaren coming to his aid. Meanwhile, Igni transforms into his demon form to join Estrella. Can't believe a demon could look this breathtaking. Take my breath away, sir! Just before she steps into the portal, she waves cheerfully to her brothers, declaring that she will return. Why does her smile look so painful? Do you feel it too, guys? Even though she smiles so brightly, it feels like she's in so much pain. Our poor Eddie. You better be back. Okay, guys, as much as I hate to say this, there are no chapters after that. The story is on indefinite hiatus. Sadly, it has not been updated in a year. If it ever has a new update, we'll continue covering it for you. But for now, this is it. Back then, Estrella had nothing that she really treasured. However, now she has so many things that she actually treasures. People who hold a special place in her heart, people that are precious to her, and that she wants to protect for the rest of her life. She believes that all these things will lead her to a happy ending. This is why she does her best to endure any kind of trial. She does that for the sake of her family. There are no worries visible on her face as she continuously plays with the little dragon. Amused seeing her, Igni asks what Estrella is doing, in which she innocently replies that she's exercising. Exercising? To him, it seems like only the dragon is the one exercising. To go straight to the point, he asks Estrella why she followed them all the way there. With a smile painted on her face, Estrella admits that she went with him to see the moon, which surprised the guy. He couldn't believe that she went to such a dangerous place with him only to see the moon. So he asks her if she thought of doing something after seeing the moon. Estrella takes some time to think, but still ends up saying nothing. She doesn't really have a plan. Oh no, Estrella, you better be careful! Frustrated by her, the guy asks if she ever thought that maybe her family might be so worried about her since it's been 2 weeks. To Estrella, there's really nothing to worry about since she sent them a letter and told them that she's not sick. She also promised them that she'll be back as soon as possible. She even had Kun, the bird, to deliver it for her. Looking at Estrella, the guy wonders if she does have to experience it firsthand. It seems like she never even experienced some serious scolding before, and it doesn't feel like something he has to do to her. All of a sudden, the door opened and 2 people entered. The guy with black long hair, Yana, and the orange-haired kid. She greeted them with a sweet smile, only to receive a glaring look which scared her cat. Estrella's cat scaredly snuggles to her. This pissed off Estrella, so she looks at that guy and asks him to stop scaring her cat. However, upon seeing him, she feels some strange emotions. She isn't really sure how to explain it, but as of the moment, the perfect definitions are sadness and pain. Estrella asks him if he's sick. A shocking expression slowly crept on his face, but it slowly vanished as weird and creepy expressions replaced it. Suddenly, Estrella asks him when he will die. All of a sudden, the silence filled the room. All of the people there are in shock to know that he's going to die. Suddenly, the guy utters saying that truly ignorance is quite a scary thing while looking at Estrella. He wonders who taught that little girl to recognize death. He walks toward the brown-haired guy, initiating that he wants to sit there. Disbelief is painted on Igni's face. It's kinda salty of him to kick out someone who is already sitting there. He still tries to reason out that there's a huge bed in front of him, but the black-haired guy doesn't buy it. It's his house after all. However, Igni seems to be so hard-headed. And since he's being like that, the moon god puts his palm on his shoulder as he tells him that he can go and leave Estrella there. Suddenly, Igni feels something heavy. All the little god has to do is to lay his hand on him, and now he feels unwell. This made him give up and immediately stand up. In his mind, questions of Estrella's safety still haunt him. But she should be safe, right? Knowing that even that strange little doll is attached to her. That doll. If that doll really is that spirit, then he must be in that form because all of his power hasn't returned to him yet. At the very least, he must have followed Estrella there because he has enough strength to protect her. Suddenly, the moon god answers Estrella's question, saying that he doesn't really know when he will die. Out of the blue, Estrella says something that made him flinch, telling him that if the throats of everything he created were slit open, will he die peacefully then? What a sudden question coming from a child! Still surprised by her question, he slightly squeezes his arm. He turns his gaze away from her as he answers yes. A shed of sadness and disappointment fills Estrella's face when all of a sudden he calls for her attention, asking her why she followed him. Estrella lowers her gaze as she told him that she wanted to talk to him. Suddenly, the god interrupted her by asking if she did that to convince him not to kill her family. And he's right. Estrella stares at him, calls him Lord Moon, and tells him that he's mean. Lord Moon, or Yana, flinches, but not because of her calling him mean, but because of that title. Lord Moon. He hasn't heard that title in a very long time. Reminiscing his beautiful past with that title, out of the blue he heard Estrella asking him if he wants to go home. His eyes widen. What does she mean, does he want to go home? Once again, she asks him if he wants to go home, back to his original home. He clenches his fists. What sort of nonsense is she trying to say to him? Estrella asks him again. It's starting to piss him off. And he glares at her, but it seems to be having no effect. It's not even scaring her. He lashes out at her. For him, it's as if she's ridiculing him. Anger filled his voice as he threatened her, asking if she wishes to die just like her mother. Sitting on the cold floor, Estrella tells him that she still wishes to live and that her mommy abandoned her. This guy needs to chill. Why is he going off at our little lady? So she knows that Latine deserted the both of them and left that world. Latine isn't just an ordinary believer. She was his first believer, yet she betrayed him and Estrella the moment she chose death. But what comes out of Estrella's mouth blows his mind. She says that she's fine with it. She's fine with it now because she has a dad, Selena, brothers, and a sister. She now has a family. Lord Moon grits his teeth out of anger. He stands up and lashes out on her, telling her that it doesn't change the fact that her mom abandoned her. However, Estrella can do nothing about it. In the end, it was her mom's choice. It was her life, so there was nothing she could do about it. It's not like she can turn back time, so her mom's life is her mom's life. It's not Estrella's life, nor his life, so he shouldn't blame her. She is so real for this. What she said made him fuming in anger. This made him question what power she even has to talk to him like that. Estrella flashes a smile at him and tells him that it's her eyes. They say it's the tears of the sun. Instantly, Lord Moon's eyes turn black as he dashes toward her to attack. Luckily, the brown-haired guy does his best to shield her from the attacks. To him, it seems like she's mocking him, but she's not. Luckily, someone is there or she won't survive that. So he asks her again if that despicable and insignificant guy regretted what he did. Estrella lowers her gaze as she answers yes. The Lord's anger worsens as he dashes again with an intent to kill Estrella. But it stopped when the spirit appeared, telling Lord Moon that he won't tolerate his actions any longer. Lord Moon looks at the spirit, and the moment he sees him, he can instantly say that he's a broken god. With a calm expression on his face, the spirit tells Lord Moon that despite him being a broken god, it won't be difficult for him to end his life. But it only made Lord Moon laugh. He hasn't even gotten all his strength back, and he already thinks he can do that? It's ridiculous. It's rare for the spirits to have the ability to walk the path of becoming a god. He smirks as he asks the spirit what sort of taboo did he even break. The spirit stares at him as he tells him that it's none of his business. However, the next time he threatens Estrella, it will surely be the last time he will ever breathe. The moon god laughs. He thought that he'll feel a sense of deception, but he saved a human. Him, who wasn't able to become a god, did something that even someone who has the full authority of a god would be forced to bow to numerous restrictions. It's no wonder that the backlash was so large because what the spirit does is quite foolish. But it's also quite interesting seeing Estrella living like this. Normally, she wouldn't have been able to be born. And well, it might also be because Latine, her mother, was the only believer he trusted. Lord Moon looks at Estrella's eyes and clearly realizes that those eyes, those really are the eyes of the sun. Estrella's mother Latine was so special and precious to him, so for her to stab him in the back and have a child of the sun makes him so mad. But then he calms down and asks if the sun god, Sola, is still alive. Estrella confirms it and tells him that Sola is waiting for him. He chuckles. He's waiting for him? For what? So he can completely annihilate him? If he can, he will even kill him and everything he leaves behind. Out of the blue, Estrella tells him that he can, which surprised Lord Moon. He completely thought that she's making fun of him and even thought of her as clever just like her mom. But she's serious. Sola doesn't have anything and he cannot leave. She is the last of the sun. Suddenly, she offers her hand, which makes him wonder what it's about. But then she explains that if he holds her hand, they'll be able to find out what happens next. But before they can even continue, Estrella grabs the crystals that she gave to the orange-haired kid and gives it to Lord Moon. Suddenly, a bright passage appears. She thinks that Lord Moon will go alone, but then he grabs her with him and even tells the spirits and those who are left behind that he'll return her safely. Despite those promises, the spirit is still enraged with what he did. What a protective person we have here! They arrive in such a bright place. Estrella is pretty unfamiliar with the place when all of a sudden, Lord Moon shouts and looks for Sola. In an instant, an old man wearing a white cloak appears. Estrella instantly thought if that's his grandfather. But then that old man instantly shifts into a fine young man as he looks at Lord Moon with a longing expression, telling him that he's been wanting to meet him. Lord Moon glared at Sola. He completely thought that by the next time he sees him, that will be the time that he'll kill him. Sola stares back, telling him that he's still unable to do that even now. Pissed off by the reply, Yana clenches his palms. He feels something, the crystals. He looks at Sola and asks what he has done. Sola wonders why he's still asking him when he already knows the answer. It's Sola's power. He doesn't have much left, so he tried to leave it in the hands of the humans. Lord Moon's about to make fun of it, but then Sola only puts his faith to those people that Lord Moon once put his faith in. Meanwhile, Estrella looks at the sky and suddenly starts longing for her father. This just makes her want to hurry and go home. Suddenly, Sola walks towards her, commending her for finally bringing Lord Moon to him. However, not wanting to change the topic, Lord Moon asks him what his intentions were when he divided up his power and scattered it throughout the land. But Sola's reply shocks his whole system. He knew that if he did that, Lord Moon would get angry and would come to see him. He missed him. He missed Lord Moon a lot. But what he said only enraged Lord Moon. What does he mean he missed him? He threw him out, took all his powers, and pushed him down to the rock bottom, and now he's saying that he missed him? That sounds ridiculous. Sola's face softens as he says that he deeply regrets it. But this makes Lord Moon even more angry and even grabs his collar as he questions if he really did regret it. Does he really regret it when he's the one who destroyed everything? Lord Moon is so relatable. His regret is truly questionable. A guilty expression surfaces on his face. Sola then explains that he was the one who said that he's going to leave him. He forced him to have a wager with him even though he didn't want to, and the result of that was Lord Moon's defeat. Lord Moon thought that that's why he took all those away from him. However, Sola only did that because he didn't want to be left all alone. He wanted to show Lord Moon the bad side of the humans he once loved dearly. Lord Moon's hands tremble as he holds the collar even more tightly. He angrily asks Sola if he's satisfied now that he destroyed everything. But he only holds Lord Moon's hands gently and asks for forgiveness and even telling him to go home with him. But all of a sudden, Lord Moon strangles his neck. He finds it crazy that Sola is now worried about him and is asking for his forgiveness. Despite that, Sola didn't stop convincing him to go home. He's been corrupted too much already, and if that happens even further, he'll never be able to go home. Lord Moon stops and asks why he suddenly thought of that. It turns out that Sola could no longer stand by and watch him become more sullied. He did everything in his power to create the utopia which Lord Moon has spoken of, but he still despises the human world. The greed of humans knows no end, and their desires never diminish. That's why he made a decision. He divided up his divine power and gave it to a few humans, entrusting them with the power of gods. But some of those vessels were destroyed by humans, and unfortunately, the only thing that remains is despair. Truly, humans are easily swayed by greed. He was about to give up, but then Estrella appeared. However, Lord Moon tells him that if too much divine power is contained in her young body, there's a possibility that she will die. What? But then Sola assures him that she's not going to die because she's now become an entirely new being in and of itself. What a relief! He ensures him that there's nothing to be concerned about, but Lord Moon shrugs it off, telling him that he's not concerned. Furthermore, he asks if he's even planning on making Estrella miserable for the rest of her life. But that statement shifted to him as Sola says that it's more preferable to him who pretended to be a teacher in order to train Estrella. Once again, Lord Moon expresses that he doesn't want to go with him, but that only made Sola beg. It seems like he doesn't really understand. He did his best to create the world that Lord Moon wanted, but it just feels like a prison. He tries to have a heart for humans, but he just can't like them. It feels as if they're stealing Lord Moon from him. Witnessing all of those, Lord Moon sees him now as cursed and hateful. He turns his back on Sola, telling him that he'll hide for 100 years. This only means death, which made Sola bawl his eyes out. He's scared of Lord Moon's death. On his way to the exit, Estrella asks him if they're not going to make up. Lord Moon only scratches the back of his neck as he casually tells her that he's never going to make up with Sola. He suddenly kneels in front of her and asks her if she wants to die. He's worried that he'll be left alone for a very long time, but Estrella refuses to. She wants to live with her family. Even though she's not going to die, she still wants to live happily for them. She is such a sweet girl who really knows what she's doing. All of a sudden, the spirit pops out of the blue and attacks Lord Moon. Luckily, Sola runs to the rescue. This leaves Lord Moon surprised, not only by the attack, but by the action he does for Estrella. He never even thought that he abandoned his icy nature and did such things for the kid. Estrella then stops him and assures him that she can turn Lord Moon back the next time. However, seeing her made the spirit realize something. The spirit stares at Sola and asks what he did to Estrella, since it seems like there's some huge godly power inflicted on her body. But Sola told him that he could just control it since they'd be together for a long time. He could just absorb the pure power and it would quickly recover his strength. That will even give him a better opportunity to be a god again. The reason why he gave such power to Estrella is because she's a vessel that can handle it. But that doesn't justify his action. Even Lord Moon tells him that if Estrella isn't a vessel, she'll be destroyed by now. She's enduring possession of that power because she's strong enough to. As she grows, so will her capacity as a vessel. Also, she's already possessing 3 of those powers inside of her. That's probably why she is slow-witted compared to other humans. Suddenly, the spirit asks Lord Moon if he's saying all of that because he's pleading for him to save his life, which makes Lord Moon smirk. He's not really pleading. He already made up his mind that he's going to die. However, Estrella really wants to help him live, so the spirit looks for ways to save him and thinks that he can use one of those crystals to save him and make him go inside the doll. Despite not wanting to admit it, it kinda touched him that Estrella wants to save his life, despite him doing everything he can for her to be unhappy the moment she was born. Despite him realizing it, it seems like Sola doesn't really get it that he has his fair share of faults towards Estrella too. He's also one of those people who ruined her life by handing over his duties and powers towards her. Lord Moon kneels in front of her with a sincere look on his face. He apologizes for messing things up and commends her for choosing her own path. He doesn't really know how long they'll be together, but to atone for his sins, he promises to stay by her side, even though he must reside inside the doll. In that form, it appears that he'll be relying on her once again. I'm really glad that he's holding himself accountable for his actions. Meanwhile, the Emperor is in his room, laying out evidence on where to find Estrella. Suddenly, waves of memories appear, and his knight asks him if he's okay. But he isn't. Those glimpses of memories, he knows himself that the person that will heavily be affected by this is the Empress. Elias rushes over to Selena, asking if she's all right. He mentions that memories of Estrella's mother have resurfaced, which is affecting her, as she is closest to Estrella. He apologizes, feeling responsible for what Selena is experiencing. Selena insists that she's fine and clarifies that she doesn't consider herself close to Estrella's mother, as she harbors anger towards her. She adds that Estrella's mother is the reason why the Ehri tribe was destroyed. Elias acknowledges this and explains that as a fallen god, Estrella's mother once offered to bear their child. Selena then questions Elias, wondering if he had shared this information with Estrella's mother in the beginning, and if he had any deeper connection with her. Elias begins to explain that Estrella's mother had told him about the Aerie people, and in exchange for saving them, she made a request. He apologizes again, saying that he only saw the Aerie tribe as citizens of the Empire, a responsibility he had to uphold. He adds that he intended to complete his duties, but unfortunate events unfolded. This makes him clench his fists in frustration upon remembering them. Selena reassures him that he has nothing to worry about. Elias, consumed with regret over his decision, is slapped by Selena, who reminds him that if they recover their memories, Estrella will achieve the Bresciuti. She stresses that Estrella is his child and they must protect her. Harsh, but Elias needs that wake-up call. Selena goes on to say that if Elias regrets his choices, it means he regrets having Estrella. She admits that she has also caused Estrella pain and feels that Elias may be implying that it's her fault for not stopping him earlier. This leaves Elias in stunned silence. She then gently holds his face and reminds him that even an emperor is human and can make mistakes. She assures him that there's still time to make Estrella happier than she's ever been. Elias is deeply troubled, feeling that Estrella no longer trusts him because she chose to leave on her own. He worries that her actions show a lack of faith in their bond. Selena tries to calm him down, saying they need to make an effort to talk to Estrella. She emphasizes that Estrella might not realize how her choices can make others worried, but with time, she will understand their concerns. Just then, the door swings open and Jaren appears, carrying Estrella in his arms. Elias immediately rushes forward, asking where she's been. His voice is filled with concern, wanting to know what happened to her. However, Estrella feels startled and uneasy. As she looks at her father, she senses something strange about his aura, which makes her heart race with nervousness. The familiar warmth she once felt from him now feels different, almost unsettling. She stands there, unsure of what to say, caught between her worries about her father's presence and how she will start to explain. Estrella responds to her father, explaining that she met with Lord Moon, the head of the Aerie tribe. Elias immediately questions why she didn't bring someone along for protection. She replies that it was dangerous, and he begins to worry why she chose to go alone. Though Estrella doesn't deny it, she reassures him that nothing happened. Elias, sensing her unease, tells her not to be upset and asks if he looks angry, to which she quickly nods. Elias then explains that he sent out soldiers to search for her and was worried so he couldn't sleep. When Estrella tries to defend her actions, he cuts her off, reminding her of how they've endured difficult times just to survive. Raising his voice, Elias demands to know how long she plans to keep hiding behind others, expressing the emotional toll her actions have taken on him. Estrella confesses that she never wanted to hurt her father, because seeing him in pain makes her sad. Elias then asks her if she thinks her family is so untrustworthy or weak that they can't protect her, to which she shakes her head. Estrella admits that she didn't realize they would be so worried. Elias explains that when someone disappears without a word, it naturally causes concern. He gives her a scenario that if Xian disappears to solve his problems on his own, how would she feel? And that comparison to Xian? Oof! Estrella really needs to grasp the emotional fallout of her actions. It leaves her stunned, and she asks if she did the same to her father. Elias gently answers that she did, and her family had been deeply worried about her. He goes on to say that they don't want her to feel pressured to handle things alone. If she needs to do something, she should ask for permission and not bear the burden by herself. All they want is for her to enjoy her life. Estrella, confused, asks how she's supposed to enjoy it. Elias replies that she just needs to stay away from dangerous places, stay close to her family, and focus on her happiness. He promises that he will protect her happiness and make sure no one can take it away from her. Estrella says that she's happy right now, but wonders if becoming even happier might trouble him. Elias reassures her, saying that it would never trouble him. He just wants her to be more than happy. Curious, Estrella asks what it feels like to be more than happy. Selena chimes in, saying that she isn't entirely sure, but if Estrella ever feels it one day, she should share it with them or anyone she trusts at any time. They all then promise not to hurt each other, which finally puts Estrella at ease. While crying, she then hugs her father and Selena and apologizes for what she has caused. Elias gently lifts Estrella into his arms and apologizes for being a bit harsh with her. While in her father's embrace, Estrella turns to Selena and asks if she can be her mother. Selena, touched by the question, smiles warmly and replies that it will make her even happier. Hearing this brings a bright smile to Estrella's face, filling her with joy. Selena's warmth and Estrella's beaming smile? Ugh, absolutely heart-melting. Later, Estrella meets with her siblings and apologizes for her previous behavior, expressing her regret and desire to make amends. Estrella's siblings express their concern, urging her to avoid repeating her earlier actions. They emphasize the importance of sharing her thoughts with them. They also want to stay informed about her activities. Let's hope Estrella listens and keeps him in the loop this time. In the midst of their worry, her brother asks about the demon she claims to have seen, which she calls a friend, leaving him confused about her perspective. Her sister suddenly brings up the snowman doll, mentioning that Jaren says it isn't moving. Just as they discuss it, the snowman doll unexpectedly comes to life and strikes Jaren. Wait, what just happened? The snowman doll comes to life? The scene turns chaotic as the snowman lands in Estrella's hand, explaining that it avoids places like this for a reason. Feeling a surge of remorse, Estrella apologizes, referring to the doll as Lord Moon. And then Lord Moon advises her to be happy no matter the circumstances. Estrella takes his word to heart, feeling a warmth spread within her as she embraces this newfound positivity. Her siblings and Jaren watch in stunned silence. Meanwhile, Elias stands up and questions Jaren, who insists on staying by their daughter's side. Tension rises between them as Elias refuses to grant his request. Igni steps in to calm them, and both are startled to realize he's still there. Defensively, Igni explains that he's only doing his duty by standing beside his master. Jaren, visibly irritated, lashes out, accusing everyone around Estrella of being parasites. Elias snaps back, stating that if it came to that, he could have entrusted Estrella to another human, especially him. He challenges Elias, questioning its capabilities as a human. He points out that Estrella relies on his power. He adds that from such a young age that it numbed her to emotions, implying that Elias might not be fit to handle her needs. Jaren goes further, hinting that Estrella could live longer than Elias and himself. With that, he questions how long Elias truly plans to stay by her side. He also thinks about the impossibility of protecting her forever. Seriously, Jaren? What's holding you back from trusting Elias? He admits that he even tried to take her to the spirit world. However, she still missed the human world too much. He firmly declares that he had no intention of leaving Estrella. After saying that, he changes into a wolf and leaves the room. After Jaren leaves, Elias turns to Igni, who has taken the form of Kiefer Welleron. Igni begins explaining that he requires a suitable body to inhabit, and Kiefer's form has served him well for a long time. Elias, however, is quick to point out that Igni is a demon, but Igni insists that he's a spirit. Defending his claim, Igni explains that his essence is fire, and therefore his appearance, though more demonic to others, shouldn't be a concern. Igni then asks for Elias's permission to stay by Estrella's side for the time being. Elias, wary and still on edge, responds by stating that if he were to refuse, Igni would leave anyway. This prompts Igni to leave in his majestic phoenix form. It then leaves Elias momentarily stunned by the speed and grace of Igni's exit. After Igni leaves, Elias can't shake the thoughts swirling in his mind about Estrella. He wonders if in time she will gain what is truly precious to her, perhaps even finding a way to return to the mansion and see it as her home once again. Lord Averon chases a boy through the streets and finally corners him, demanding the return of their child. The boy refuses, stating the child is already dead and dismissing Averon's concerns. Oh my gosh, is the boy actually possessed by a demonic spirit? He insists that the dead should stay dead so the living can move on with their lives. The ghost possessing Isaac's body, however, is unfazed by his words and claims that the body now belongs to her. Her tone is cold and firm, showing she has no intention of giving it up. When Averon mentions Nalian Yule Grandel, the ghost's anger flares up. She suddenly grabs Averon's hand tightly, her grip strong as she curses the Imperial bloodline. Her fury is clear, showing the deep resentment she feels towards those she believes have wronged her. Frustrated by her failed attempts at revenge, the ghost starts to mourn her painful life. She remembers the joy and love she once had, now replaced by sadness and bitterness. Even ghosts have feelings too. It's heartbreaking to see her mourning. Averon, sensing her struggle, reminds her that it is too late for her now that she's a ghost. He speaks with a mix of kindness and firmness, trying to make her understand that she can't change the past. The ghost's anger fades slightly as she thinks about what he said, feeling the weight of her lost life pressing down on her. Despite her pain, Averon hopes to help her realize that holding on to her anger will not bring her peace. He wants her to see that clinging to her resentment only makes her suffering last longer. However, the ghost remains trapped in her sadness, torn between wanting revenge and facing the truth of her situation. The tension between them lingers, reminding her of the past that keeps her in pain. Her frustration over lost revenge hits hard. The ghost, engulfed in anger and confusion, questions why the living find happiness while she remains trapped in her misery. A young lady within Isaac's body cries as memories of her once joyful life and cherished family resurface, intensifying her sorrow. Lord Averon apologizes for her suffering, and the lady realizes that those who owe her apologies never gave them. He acknowledges that no one can bring back the dead to change the past. Despite her bitterness, the ghost confesses that, despite her hatred for everyone, she still loves her people, her empire, and her family deeply. When Lord Averon asks about the diamond-bejeweled eyes, the ghost explains that her brother sees them. However, they only reveal themselves to members of the imperial family. The ghost then asks if he wishes to save Isaac's body, which Averon responds eagerly. She advises Averon to harness the luck of the diamond-bejeweled eyes for himself, wishing for Isaac's body to have a long life. Averon, filled with uncertainty, is urged to simply give Isaac a reason to live and to remind him of the love surrounding him. Afterward, the young girl possessing Isaac finally departs. When Isaac awakens, he finds himself cradled in Averon's arms. Overwhelmed with relief, Averon feels immense gratitude for having freed Isaac from the ghost's hold. Estrella enters Isaac's room and finds him crawling, blood dripping from his mouth. Shocked, he asks why she came. She replies that she hasn't seen him in a while, but he senses her lie. Isaac demands she return to her chamber, saying he's tired. Ignoring his request, she asks if he plans to go to his hometown with Averon. He questions if Averon told her that, but dismisses the idea, saying the paternity results don't matter to him. When she starts to ask if they're truly family, he cuts her off, threatening to leave the palace if she doesn't go. Why can't he just listen and get some help? It's like he's determined to make things harder for himself. Apologizing gently, Estrella tells Isaac that she'll visit him again soon. Despite her kind intentions, Isaac firmly insists that she doesn't need to return, wanting to be left alone. After she steps out of his room, a heavy feeling settles in Estrella's chest. She realizes that her uncle Averon might be heartbroken by what's happening. She also thinks of Isaac that seems to harbor resentment towards her and refuses to heed her advice. Meanwhile, Averon's butler enters with the paternity test results in hand, ready to deliver the news. At first, Averon feels a wave of hesitation wash over him, uncertain if he can trust the results. How many times do you need to be hit with the truth before you accept it? Just face it, Averon! His doubts are met with the butler's firm insistence that retaking the test would serve no purpose, as the results are still the same. Frustrated, Averon tells his butler to leave him alone for now. In that quiet moment, a realization dawns on Averon that Isaac is truly his son. Later, Estrella walks into Averon's office, and he asks her how his conversation with Isaac went. She replies that it didn't go well. Averon asks if Isaac would be willing to listen to him, but Estrella isn't sure. She suggests that if Averon speaks from his heart, Isaac might respond positively. Taking her advice seriously, Averon feels hopeful for a good outcome as he heads towards Isaac's room. Standing nervously outside the door, he musters the courage to knock. When he enters, he finds Isaac in the same troubled state Estrella had seen earlier. Concerned, Averon immediately suggests calling a healer to help. However, Isaac firmly insists he doesn't need one and tells Averon to leave his room. Unwilling to give up, Averon refuses to abandon Isaac in his time of need. Ignoring Averon's pleas, Isaac demands to know what he wants from him. Averon finally reveals the results of the paternity test he received. Isaac quickly concludes that the results must be negative and insists that there's no reason for Averon to be in his room at all. He recalls Averon's early declaration that he wasn't his son, and a wave of regret washes over Averon as he realizes how much his words and actions have hurt Isaac. Isaac is surprised by Averon's constant questions about how he plans to make things right. He can't understand why Averon is acting so strangely and doesn't want to talk about it. Then Averon suddenly tells Isaac that he is his son, which shocks Isaac, who pretends not to understand what Averon means. Even as Averon keeps asking how to fix their relationship, Isaac firmly rejects all attempts to reconcile. He insists that they should just act like nothing has changed. Still, Averon asks if Isaac can see him as a father. Isaac turns away, telling Averon to leave, while Averon sincerely apologizes. Over the next month, Averon keeps trying to earn Isaac's forgiveness, coming into his room every morning to invite him to breakfast, which only irritates Isaac. When Isaac is about to respond, Averon interrupts, saying he can't ignore the truth anymore. Frustrated, Isaac questions whether Averon truly wants a father-son relationship or if it's just a game. Averon insists that he only wants Isaac to stay alive. Annoyed, Isaac replies that Averon's apologies mean nothing because the damage is already done. He sarcastically asks if having breakfast together will make him disappear. Averon insists that it's not just about breakfast. He wants Isaac to have the will to live and plans to send a doctor to check on him regularly. This angers Isaac as he feels Averon is trying to ease his own guilt while ignoring him. Averon disagrees with Isaac's view of his actions. In a fit of anger, Isaac shouts that if Averon truly cares, he should stay with him and make an effort. Averon is shocked, thinking Isaac hates him. But through tears, Isaac admits that while he does hate seeing Averon, he also longs for his presence. Averon apologizes again, saying he only wants Isaac to live. Isaac responds that if that's really what Averon wants, he must come every day, apologize, and tell him he's doing well, until the day Isaac decides to leave him for good. They embrace tightly, and Averon softly says that he understands Isaac. This moment hits hard. You can feel Isaac's deep yearning for a father's love, and it just tugs at the heartstrings. 9 years have passed, and Leona is fretting over Estrella on wearing a beautiful, albeit heavy dress as per Estrella, which the latter isn't keen on wearing. Despite Estrella's dislike for it, Leona says she'll still wear it regardless. It turns out it's nearly time for Estrella's debut to the world, hence all the fuss with wanting her to wear a dress. Elias, their imperial father, chuckles at the sisters arguing, but says that since it's Estrella's debut, her opinion should count as much as possible. Leona won't have any of it, saying that if they let Estrella do what she wants, she'll show up to the event with her nightgown or riding clothes on. Seeing the contrasting silliness of his daughters makes her father laugh again. Estrella tries to convince her sister out of cuteness, though it didn't fully work. Try as she might, Leona won't budge. Elias remembers how Estrella hasn't liked tight clothes ever since. Meanwhile, Leona finally puts her hands on Estrella's shoulders. She lets her know that before, it's her big sister that's giving her what she wants. Now that Leona's the one asking, it's Estrella or Eddie's turn to give in. Leona admits that she bought the dress 3 months ago so that her little sister could look beautiful. And with that, the matter is solved. Estrella agrees to wear the dress since Leona picked it. She, however, asks to take a walk, making her father think she planned this all along. Leona is hesitant to allow Estrella to go, but the latter promises to be back in an hour. Immediately after Leona lets her go, Estrella's already in her riding clothes, and she mischievously remarks that perhaps she'll be 30 minutes late. Estrella then encounters Mr. Spirit as she's heading out, though he calls her Rue instead. He asks if she's going to ride Xion, the dragon. She confirms this and asks him to go too. However, Mr. Spirit is thinking how he had no intention of letting Estrella stay in the human world this long, but the time to take her back has already passed. He gets interrupted by Estrella. Still, she notices his unhappy demeanor. He disregards this, instead reminding Estrella of her plan to go to Xion. She chuckles at the slight unintentional insult of Mr. Spirit to her dragon. Mr. Spirit notes how happy she is on top of that, and Estrella shares the recent development of her debutante ball, with Leona picking her dress and whatnot. In reality, it's a coming-of-age ceremony as well. Anyway, her eyes gleamed brightly upon seeing Xion. She nuzzles the black dragon's snout as she asks her for a ride to the sky. Mr. Spirit is speechless, watching what was once fragile and young grow into such a splendid person. He can't help but reminisce from when he found Estrella back then to what she is now. He also notes of the unfamiliar feeling he feels when he does so. Mr. Spirit watches as Rue flies around with Xion. His snowman companion suddenly appears, asking him if he's jealous. Irritated, he doesn't answer. Apparently, demigods lose all human emotions. Gods especially lose greed or desire. And yet Mr. Spirit feels that for Estrella, which makes this quite an interesting phenomenon. Mr. Spirit admits it's because he thinks of Estrella as his child and had originally planned to take her back with him when the time came, for her sake too, as Estrella can get hurt here in the human world. The snowman describes humans as lovely creatures and questions how Mr. Spirit doesn't intervene when he's fascinated by them. He argues that he doesn't want Estrella to be sad. Besides, all she ever did since he met her was cry. Mr. Spirit found her as a baby who'd wail ceaselessly. But during her last moments, she gave the sweetest smile to Mr. Spirit. This is the reason Mr. Spirit broke the taboo and brought Estrella back to life. He also doesn't regret it either. Suddenly, Estrella calls out to him from above. He looks at her with a solemn smile on his face, and he takes her hand, joining her in her flight. Afterwards, Estrella shows her beautiful but uncomfortable dress to Igni prior to her debut, who's shocked at how fast humans grow up. Igni asks if she's shown herself to Mr. Spirit, who he calls Iceman, and she says no. He encourages her to do so, but senses her hesitation. Estrella reveals that she feels Mr. Spirit being distant as of late. She's afraid of talking to him, fearing Mr. Spirit really does hate her. Igni assures her that that's impossible. Besides, unlike him, Mr. Spirit can return to the spirit world at any time, so if he hates Estrella, then he wouldn't have stayed. Suddenly, she could feel Mr. Spirit's presence, a feat that surprises Igni since only spirits that can detect faint energies. He praises Estrella before urging her on her way. She finds Mr. Spirit with flowers in hand. Apparently, he heard of humans congratulating each other over birthdays, so wishes Estrella a happy birthday with flowers. Touched, Estrella doesn't reply, but she hurls herself forward to hug Mr. Spirit before saying, "I love you" to him. His heart beats loudly, so he ends the hug and asks Estrella not to tell him that because he hates it. Estrella pouts, but asks if she's wronged him because he treats her differently now. No head pats or holding hands. Mr. Spirit says it's because she's older and that's the way it is for humans. But when she asks him about returning to the spirit world, he gets shocked. So he asks her where she knew of that. Estrella mentions her conversation with Igni earlier. Mr. Spirit answers that he plans to return when Estrella no longer needs him. Tears immediately appear in Estrella's eyes, in disbelief at how Mr. Spirit could casually talk like that. Estrella crying startles Mr. Spirit, but the tears continue to flow. Heartbroken, Estrella asks why Mr. Spirit's talking like she'll forget about him. In response to Estrella's sadness at the prospect of Mr. Spirit leaving her, he caresses her cheek. He admits that he doesn't think he'll be forgotten by her. He's just sure that Estrella will find someone more precious than him. Just as he'd hoped, Estrella has managed to accumulate friends like a normal human, and he is sure that she'll meet someone more than that. Mr. Spirit promises he'll never leave her completely. Whenever she'll call him, he'll make sure to be there. Estrella holds on to Mr. Spirit's hand on her cheek, while asking if she could call him every single day. This puts a smile on Mr. Spirit's face, assuring her that he will honor it. Despite the reassurance, Estrella still feels strange. She knows Mr. Spirit has never lied before, but she can't help but feel anxious. Her thoughts get interrupted when Rafis calls her, though. The young man has been apparently looking all over for her. After catching his breath, he asks if Estrella has entered the room yet. She says no, and he feels relieved, saying how he wanted to greet her happy birthday on a more personal note. He also gives her a gift while doing so. A very stunning necklace. Estrella's more than happy to praise the gift as well as Rafis, whose smile is the biggest there is. Meanwhile, Mr. Spirit isn't exactly happy with Rafis. His cold demeanor surfaces as he views Rafis as trying to covet Estrella. Looks like someone is friends with the big green monster called jealousy. Rafis continues to explain his gift, saying that he didn't get a high-quality necklace. It's only amber, but he used his first paycheck on it. He didn't even finish before Estrella praises the beauty of his gift and her intention to wear it with the help of Leona. Rafis now works up the courage to ask her to let him take her out for a dance during her debut. Of course, Estrella agrees, and both their eyes glimmer with happiness. Suddenly, a cold, enveloping breeze emerges, and both Estrella and Rafis feel it. Estrella glances at Mr. Spirit, knowing it's him, while Rafis excuses himself so he can head back, in fear of his teacher scolding him if he's gone too long. Now left alone, Estrella faces Mr. Spirit and asks him if he's all right. The demigod couldn't answer, but he does chastise himself not to be greedy with Estrella too much. He believes his nature would do more harm than good to the girl if he does. He doesn't want her to be unhappy. He himself knows how long she's been so, and now he can't take away all her happiness by being greedy. So he dismisses Estrella's question, instead greeting her happy birthday again. Estrella openly speculates that Rafis likes her because of his mannerisms around her and whatnot. Mr. Spirit becomes more infuriated when he learns that the successor for Count Chiffon also confessed his feelings for Estrella. Mr. Spirit's about to ask for the boy's whereabouts when Estrella reassures him that she rejected him. Mr. Spirit urges her to continue rejecting people she doesn't like. Estrella mentions part of the reason is because she'll have a longer life than an ordinary human. So Mr. Spirit promises to find a solution for it. Estrella happily compares him to a genie, granting her every wish. When he agrees that he will, Estrella asks Mr. Spirit what he'll do once she passes away. Mr. Spirit presses his lips, clearly shaken by Estrella's question on what he'll do once she's gone. He still composes himself when finally giving an answer, though, saying he'll probably go back to the spirit realm. Estrella follows it up, asking if he'll cry if she dies, without removing her smile. All these questions make Mr. Spirit wonder if there's something wrong with Estrella, which she assures him that there isn't. She jokes that if he'd asked her to live for a long time, she'd do so, but he's never acted that childish with her. In fact, Mr. Spirit divulges that if he ever does act childish, it's a signal that he's very ill. Mr. Spirit calls her Rue again and says that if he asks her, a human, to live long for him, it would be cruel since he'll live longer than she could imagine. Estrella counters with what if she asks Mr. Spirit to become human? Although Mr. Spirit hesitates, he says it will be equally as cruel. He asks her again if anything's wrong while he cups her cheeks, and she laughs, repeating that there isn't. He asks her to go celebrate her birthday. The two share a moment until Mr. Spirit's magic activates right near Estrella's ear, causing her some small pain. Turns out, Mr. Spirit had given her a gift. It's an earring infused with his power, which can be like a self-defense item. He even gives her the other pair to share or to keep for herself. However, she asks him to wear the other earring. Despite arguing the logic behind wearing an item with his own power, Mr. Spirit eventually relents. Estrella excuses herself, and Mr. Spirit is left alone. For about 2 seconds. His snowman companion appears moments later. The snowman comments that Estrella's body absorbed about half Mr. Spirit's power, owed perhaps to her good manners or her being not greedy at all. Mr. Spirit just wants to shake him off his shoulder. The snowman threatens Mr. Spirit, saying that if he continues having thoughts like he does, he'll tell Rue. Mr. Spirit gets angry with him, calling Estrella Rue, so the snowman asks where he got the name from anyway, since she didn't have one in the beginning. Mr. Spirit's been calling Estrella Rue all this time, by the way. Mr. Spirit reveals that Rue means dawn, the exact time he met Estrella. The snowman notes how unlike it is for him to be sentimental. Anyway, it'll take 10 years for Estrella to fully absorb the rest of his powers. Then she'll live a normal life, albeit about 200 years or so. That's not normal. The snowman asks if he really cares for Estrella, since the demigod's problems get solved if Estrella becomes one, or if he becomes a human. Instead of answering, Mr. Spirit hurls the snowman out the window, finally noting the quietness. Meanwhile, Estrella's praised for her beauty by her mother, who notes that soon marriage proposals will come flying in. She's been refusing them for her daughter, who isn't interested at all. She thinks she'll never meet anyone better than Mr. Spirit. Still, Estrella's mother assures her she'll meet a good person soon. What's certain is that Estrella's going to be the belle of the ball today. Suddenly, Leona bursts in, looking for her sister. She takes Estrella away to begin makeup. While doing so, she comments how all this, being a complete family, feels like a dream. In an effort to comfort Leona, Estrella cups her hands, saying she isn't a dream and that she's going to stay. Leona is pleased with the assurance of her little sister, though Estrella mentions that even she's being prepared for marriage proposals and whatnot. Leona informs her that if she doesn't want to, then she just chooses to not do it. Leona says that Estrella is the only exception because as the older sister, Leona has to stand by her royal duties. When asked by Estrella about this, Leona gets a solemn look on her face before telling her sister not to mind the matter. Leona hugs Estrella, though her expression about her royal duties to be married doesn't change. Oh, the complicated responsibility of being an elder sibling. Anyway, the party begins and Estrella has to greet the guests. They're all formal with their words, but using her magical eyes, Estrella can see that most of the prevailing emotions from her guests are envy, opportunism, and jealousy. The emotional colors seen by her eyes make her tired, but she doesn't run away because it'll get Leona in trouble. Speaking of Leona, she arrives in just the nick of time to check on her sister. Estrella mentions she wants some fresh air, and without hesitation, she begins to lead her sister outside. Lady Weeping tries to feign compassion for the unwell younger imperial princess, but Leona immediately shuts her down with a chilly stare. In the balcony, Leona praises Estrella for handling the guests well despite it being her first ball. Estrella admits that the ball was too loud for her, referring to her getting dizzy because of the large number of people. Leona is concerned about this, but Estrella says she's used to it ever since she was little. Leona does remember her little sister getting flustered in large crowds before. Leona then asks if Estrella had promised anyone a dance in her ball. When Estrella says it's Rufus, Leona can't hide her slight dislike for him for dragging Estrella around with him before, though she asks her if she likes him. Estrella says yes, though only as a friend. She even forgives Rufus for his mistake, which eventually leads to Leona reluctantly doing so too. She then notices Rufus standing inside, waiting for Estrella, and she tells her little sister. Leona comments how he looks like a red tomato, and Estrella, ever innocent, says it's because Rufus likes her. Her sister's more surprised that she knew, so Estrella also reveals that it's the same case with Count Chiffon's successor. Regardless, Leona asks Estrella if she's going to date Rufus, but the latter responds that she's going to reject him if he ever confesses. This leads Leona to ask her sister if she happens to like anyone. Initially, Estrella's answers are the male members of her family, and Leona rephrases the question, does she like anybody that she could marry? Estrella answers Mr. Spirit, but Leona says he's not a good candidate because of his lifespan. Estrella then asks Leona if she has someone she likes, and it's her turn to say no. Perhaps if anyone could defeat her in a sword fight, she would fall in love, but she's horrified at Estrella's suggestion of brother Jaren or Derek. Estrella asks her eldest sister what'll happen when the latter marries, asking if she could live with her. This brings joy and happiness to an otherwise somber topic for Leona, who starts teasing that it should be Estrella that she marries. Suddenly, a man chuckles at Leona's silly jokes, and the sisters stand on high alert at the stranger. The sisters are wary of the stranger, who makes himself known as a guest who went there for some fresh air too. Estrella, through her eyes, senses the man as not a bad person. His aura makes him twinkle like a starry night sky. Leona bids her sister to go inside, partly because Rufus might cry for waiting too long, and she also advises Estrella to knee him in the groin if he tries anything with her. The Duke comments on Leona's careful attention to her sister, which she doesn't hide. She instead asks why a venerable person such as him showed up at Estrella's ball. The Duke reveals that Elias, the Imperial Majesty and Leona's father, sent him an invitation due to his extended absence from court. Leona feels relieved that he isn't there for her sister, and the Duke assures her he isn't interested in ladies that young. Despite clearing the air, Leona still can't figure out the Duke's intentions. He speaks, noting her very high spirits. As for him, the Duke admits that he's been like a prize stallion put up for auction as of late. Leona sympathizes, as she feels she's also an expendable commodity being traded in the market. They're both talking about the pressures of being married, by the way. Leona, in particular, laments her situation. She notes that whether things go well or not, she'll have to leave, so she considers telling her father that she won't marry. After some silence, the Duke happily suggests a marriage to him. Initially unconvinced, Leona admits that it isn't a bad idea, since contractual marriages are fairly common, but she won't have it. Besides, she can just talk to her father. The Duke then wagers sweeping her off her feet in one blow, perhaps hearing her ramblings from earlier. A ticked Leona threatens the Duke that he'll not be able to move a single muscle, but nonetheless accepts the challenge. True to her word, the Duke is immobilized by her sheer aura, though he quickly recovers when Leona's attention is diverted to her back. She grasps her little finger with his, announcing his victory. He asks if it was the sun god's power, but Leona doesn't answer, but calls the bet off instead. She scolds the Duke for bringing his knights, but he's more fixated in the honor of being able to experience Leona's power. She reveals not everyone knows of this, even Estrella, and warns the Duke not to tell her. Leona admits to herself this isn't a skill she deserved to have, since she isn't required to fight like her brothers. She notes that it's a power that's terrifying to everyone. The Duke then says that if she goes north with him, she can fight as much as she wants. This lightens Leona's mood, and she teases him about his confidence to not fall in love with her. Instead, he says that he'll give her what she wants if he does fall, even if it's an annulment and a large alimony. Leona laughs, and promises the Duke to consider his marriage proposal if he sends one. She confides that realistically, she has to get married at least once, and 3 years is enough for a huge alimony. While beaming with beauty, she tells the Duke that 3 years is a long time for him to capture her heart. He could only laugh at the unpredictability of Leona, the princess. Leona's love story. She definitely deserves one. As the ballroom music fades into the gilded rafters, Rufus lingers for a moment, offering the Imperial Highness a smooth compliment. He's clearly trying to weave some charm, but as he stares into the princess's radiant smile, the tables turn. He realizes that he is utterly smitten. He tries to play it cool, but her observant eyes catch every stutter in his pulse. With a bluntness that leaves him stunned, she asks the one question he isn't prepared to answer. She asks if he likes her. His expression is a silent confession, yet the answer she offers in return is cold and final. She is destined for a lifespan that will outlast him, and she refuses to tether herself to someone who will only leave her to face the inevitability of his death. She rejects him before he can even find the words to properly fall, firmly placing him in the shadow of friendship. Watching him walk away with a heavy heart leaves her pacing the lonely castle halls, wondering if she has been too cruel. A voice echoes from the shadows behind her. Astaroth appears in a snap of cold air. He reminds her that to love a human, she would have to find a way to bleed away her immortality. When she turns the question on him, asking what would happen if she chooses him instead, his gaze darkens. He isn't human, nor does he have any intention of playing at being one. He challenges her, asking if she's willing to abandon her kingdom and her family at that very second to follow him into the spirit world without a single goodbye. Her hesitation is his answer. The princess has ties to the living world she cannot sever. Astaroth tells her to do as she pleases and vanishes into thin air, leaving Estrella to wonder why the one person who claims her happiness matters is the one pushing her away. Back in the spirit world, Astaroth is immediately cornered by Moon, who prods him for details like a gossiping friend. Astaroth's icy silence only fuels the suspicion that something has shifted, that perhaps a spark of romantic connection finally flickers in his hollow chest. His friend laughs off his annoyance, suggesting that Astaroth simply turns himself human or elevates the princess to a demigod to bridge the gap. But to Astaroth, the idea is madness. Human emotions are a headache, a persistent sickness that complicates the simplicity of his existence. As a spirit of ice, he is incapable of such heat. Yet deep down, the troublesome truth remains. Spirits were once human. That comment ignites Astaroth's interest. It is known that a spirit is a corrupted form of a human soul, and among those souls, the King of Spirits grants permission for some to become spirits. Is there any reason for him to know these things? Of course there is! Knowing this could grant Astaroth the possibility of living alongside Estrella for a very long time, but he believes she will be happier living a normal life, so he refuses to listen to the rest of the explanation. His friend counters him, asking whether he is truly certain of his answer, or if it is because he believes he has committed an unforgivable sin. Sin? Yes. Ice spirits are born from the souls of those who spill thousands of lives but die unjustly after a single good deed. They carry a resentment so cold that they are denied reincarnation. Astaroth stands at a crossroad, realizing that to ignore his feelings for Estrella is to invite an eternity of regrets. To bridge the divide between his divinity and her humanity, he has to be brave enough to walk a path few spirits dare to tread. Meanwhile, Estrella's sister finds her weeping on the couch. Estrella confesses her desperate wish to spend her life by Astaroth's side, mourning the coldness with which he dismisses her. Her sister suggests that the gap between mortal and spirit is simply too wide, but Estrella knows better. The revelation of his avoidance sparks another thought. Perhaps the distance is not a lack of affection, but a reaction to the fact that Estrella is no longer a child in need of protection. Frustrated by the suggestion that she find a human suitor, Estrella insists no one can match Astaroth. Her sister can only encourage her to discover the true depth of her feelings on her own, leaving Estrella to seek rest in her confusion. Ugh, how frustrating is it not to be able to name your own feelings? Inside her room, she is still caught in a storm of questions. She calls him, but he does not respond. Hopeful, she calls again, this time saying his name, Astaroth, and he appears, apologizing for the delay. Knowing that pressing him will lead nowhere, she shifts the conversation. She tells him she will no longer call him by the nickname she once gave him, which leaves Astaroth visibly confused by the sudden change. Before he can react, she looks into his eyes and asks again if he only sees her as a human child who needs to be protected forever. When he couldn't provide an answer, she hides her disappointment and delivers the words that make him freeze. She'll follow his advice and begin dating human men. We all love a girl that knows her worth. Astaroth stands frozen as Estrella proposes a daring gamble. She will venture into the world to give others the chance she once reserved solely for him. If her heart still beats for him after seeing all the world offers, he will have to remain by her side forever. Astaroth scoffs, warning her of the world's cruelty, but Estrella remains unfazed, declaring she is not as weak as he believes. Their heavy silence breaks when she inquires about his return from the spirit world. Because time in his realm flows in fickle ripples, Astaroth offers no certainty. Estrella smiles sadly, noting his long absence will provide ample time to meet others. Though a voice in his mind insists a human life will save her from his world's complications, a sharp ache blooms in his chest. He gives a begrudging nod, but Estrella adds one final condition. If no one can match his soul, he must take responsibility for her heart. Returning to his realm, Astaroth replays the scene until a fellow spirit interrupts his spiraling thoughts. To Astaroth's surprise, the spirit laughs at his frustration, pointing out that these feelings aren't new. Astaroth is simply the last to realize he's already in love. It is obvious the day he turns himself into a wolf, because it is unusual for a spirit to give up their true form, and for a spirit like Astaroth to put aside their pride, temper, and dampening their powers to stay beside a human for decades isn't easy. If he isn't blind, then he would have figured it out already. Oh God, he really is that dense! Desperate, Astaroth asks if he can purge the feeling, but the spirit shakes his head. Feelings aren't a flickering flame you can blow out. They are a weight you must carry. Even the gods can attest that once a heart, spirit, or otherwise is claimed, there is no going back. It is hopeless to try and escape. Astaroth returns to the human realm the very next day, his resolve crumbling under the weight of his realization. But the sight that meets him is a jagged pill to swallow. Estrella is already laughing beside a human man, her radiance shared with a complete stranger. The sight enrages him. Despite the midsummer heat, a biting chill clings to Astaroth, a physical manifestation of his internal storm. When fellow spirits question his refusal to return to their realm, he shuts them down. They see him watching Estrella and challenge him bluntly, arguing that if he truly lacks feelings, he should cut her out entirely. Astaroth claims his presence is for her protection, but his excuses fall flat. The humans around her are perfectly capable of looking out for her. His companions insist that to truly remove his influence, he has to stop spoiling her with attention. Only then will she realize that she can survive without him. This critique exposes a glaring irony. Astaroth has encouraged her to bond with humans, yet now that she is doing so, he is consumed by selfish jealousy. Staring at her, Astaroth finally confronts the possibility of an eternity together. In a moment of clarity, he realizes that he would sacrifice everything for her happiness, even if it means becoming a fallen spirit. Seeing that Estrella is not truly happy, he sets forth on a perilous journey to the spirit world's highest peak, determined to bridge their two worlds forever. Estrella strolls beside Miller, but she can't help but ache for the demon who usually hovers at her shoulder. As if summoned by her internal sigh, Astaroth manifests with a suddenness that makes the world stand still. When he coolly asks if she is busy, Estrella doesn't hesitate for a heartbeat before denying it. Before Miller can even stutter out a hope for a future meeting, Astaroth steps in, ruthlessly severing any lingering expectations. With a definitive sweep, he lifts Estrella off the ground and vanishes. Once they reach the sanctuary of her bedroom, the adrenaline fades into mounting worry. Estrella presses Astaroth about his erratic behavior, certain that some catastrophe must have occurred in the spirit realm to justify such a dramatic entrance. She's taken aback when he confesses there is no grand disaster. He simply wants to see her. The raw honesty of his words breaks through her defenses, and she pulls him into a tight, desperate hug. When she finally steps back, he looks at her with a heavy, haunted gaze, asking if he has inflicted pain upon her. Estrella doesn't flinch. She meets his eyes and tells him the truth. He has hurt her deeply when he pushes her away, leaving her to wonder why he would discard her so easily. Astaroth finally confesses his truth, admitting he pushes her away out of a misguided sense of protection, fearing she will wither in his shadow. To him, they are a mismatch of worlds, and he feels he is stealing the bright human life she is destined to lead. However, his experiment fails miserably. He realizes that the pain of seeing her with another is a torment far greater than any conflict they might face together. In trying to save her from himself, he only proves how impossible it is to live without her. Now, hold up. Things are happening quite fast around here, don't you think? They share their heartfelt confession to one another, and after such, Astaroth informs her about his plans of going to the peak of the mountain in the spirit world to turn himself into a human. He promises to return to her, and she promises to wait for him, and they share a hug before he vanishes into thin air. The moment Astaroth arrives at the peak of the mountain in the spirit realm, he's met with not a monster, but a cute, fluffy rabbit. Well, that was unexpected. Cute as it may be, the rabbit is no ordinary one. This rabbit has served as the ancient guardian of the mountain. And right now, he looks at Astaroth and speaks a truth the spirit has long ignored. He is worthy of whatever he desires, for if he weren't, the forest itself would have claimed his life long ago. At those words, Astaroth felt the weight of 1,000 hidden gazes shift onto him. Assuming Astaroth seeks the ultimate prize, the gatekeeper then asks if he wishes to ascend to godhood like the countless seekers before him. When Astaroth replies that he wants to become human, the guardian is visibly taken aback and hesitates. He reminds Astaroth of his nature as an ice spirit, a force of destruction that has once left a trail of unforgivable mistakes in its wake. To return to a human heart is to risk darkness once more. Despite the warnings, the only thing echoing in Astaroth's mind is Estrella's radiant and warm smile. What's done is done, and he makes a silent, solemn vow to become someone better for the woman he loves. Seeing that Astaroth's resolve is unyielding, the gatekeeper finally steps aside and allows him to pass through the final door, a gateway designed to fulfill a love so biased and profound that it defies the spirit world's logic. 6 months have bled away since the day Astaroth vanished into the mist. For Estrella, the palace becomes a tomb of memories of his presence, her tears flowing freely in a desperate, gut-wrenching yearning for the man who promised to return. Estrella is truly human because she overacts just as anyone would. She cries not only because she misses the spirit, but also because of the novel she has read, one that tells of a love story that fails due to misunderstandings and betrayal. For some reason, she can't help but fear that the same fate might await them. Seeing how devastated she is, her friend Igni encourages her to go out and try some food. After all, food has always been an ideal form of therapy. The moment they arrive at the town square, they notice too many people lining up for the food they want. But a good friend like Igni refuses to let Estrella sink into her thoughts, so he talks to her and acts goofy. Just then, they bump into terrifying, narcissistic figures in town. Good thing someone steps in to save them. Guess who? Is it the spirit? No, it is Rufus! Rufus saves them, and after the bullies scram, they talk for a while. However, it isn't like before. In fact, it feels forced, almost artificial. But Estrella can't blame him, right? Anyone would speak awkwardly after being rejected. Still, he's her friend, so Estrella asks if they can try to keep things casual. As for Rufus, those words sting just as much as they do the first time she rejected him. He guesses that he'll always be nothing more than a friend to her. When he learned that Estrella and Astaroth were deeply in love, he already knew their fate was sealed. There's no need to fight when someone else has already won. Being a good sport, he settles with reaching out for her hand, offering the same handshake that once marked the beginning of their friendship. Seriously, why does this happen to good men? In the following days, Estrella sulks. Day after day, she waits and hopes for Astaroth's return. It feels wrong for her to doubt, but what can she do to stop a heart from worrying? Lord Moon had assured her that everything was fine because the ice he left behind was still there, so he's probably coming very soon. But even now that 6 months have passed, she still waits for him to show up. But he never does. Elsewhere, Astaroth is still training to become human. He takes tests to prove that he is worthy of her, and nothing else matters to him aside from the result. Luckily, he passes. After all the trials he went through, he decides to set out for the human world again and test it. The exam is made public, and it is possible for the imperial family to attend. Hearing this, Astaroth hopes that Estrella will show up. Speaking of Estrella, she already hears about the public promotion exam. However, she refuses to go with her family. What if Astaroth returns while she's not around? Hearing that, her sister decides not to go either and stays to accompany her at home, eyeing Rafa's gifts for her beloved sister. It's obvious that Rufus is still making moves on her, but Estrella is too dense, so she changes the topic instead. In a flick of the day, they are finally together. Estrella still can't believe that he's human now. However, despite being human, he doesn't lose his power and instead becomes a mage. In all truth, Astaroth turned himself into a mage only to stay by Estrella's side and protect her every passing second. A selfless motive, but hey, they're in love! All happy emotions aside, Estrella can't help but feel jealous about something. There are many girls hovering around Astaroth, and frankly speaking, she doesn't like it. Maybe he needs to hear her confession one more time, so she bolts through the halls to confess her love. Astaroth, on the other hand, faces what every human man experiences at some point: meeting the girl's father. Unfortunately, the Imperial Majesty expresses his disapproval of their relationship. He couldn't do anything about Astaroth when he was a spirit, but now that he is human, the king is confident he can drive him away. His confidence, however, shatters when Astaroth presents towering documents on his table. It turns out he has been preparing for this moment as well. The papers were proof of his identity, proving that he turned himself into a human and a mage just to stay beside Estrella. Does he really harbor such deep affection for his daughter to go to such lengths? Bluntly, he asks Astaroth straight up if he truly loves Estrella. Initially, the question makes Astaroth pause, but he can't help but acknowledge the feeling. He does love Estrella, and he does want to make her happy. Others may not want to see them together, but he refuses to give up. Seeing Astaroth's sincerity, the king can't help but appreciate his sentiments. However, he warns him that even if he's all-powerful, if he ever makes Estrella cry, then he will rip him apart. LOL, typical dad move. Before they can finish their conversation, Estrella barges into the room and faces Astaroth, confessing her love for him in front of her father. Astaroth is stunned when she asks him to officially date her, and the king can no longer argue when he sees the happiness in his daughter's eyes. Fast forward, her sister is finally getting married to the Duke. For Estrella, this is a moment filled with happiness, but there's a comment from her sister that leaves her stunned. Her sister encourages her to marry Astaroth as soon as possible because marriage is one way to put a leash on someone. Without marriage, there is a possibility that they just break up. Although it's not something she wants, she still tells Estrella that she's welcome to live with her if she and Astaroth do break up. After that encounter, she can't help but ask Astaroth about everything related to it, revealing her anxiety about the possibility of their separation. But Astaroth sees this not as an argument, but as a chance to reassure her, promising that day will never come because they will stay by each other's side forever. And they seal that vow with a kiss. Thank you for watching our video, and we hope you have an enjoyable day. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe for more videos.